What's up, everybody? Welcome to Touch Grass with Theo
Hello.
Snodgrass. I'm your host, Theo Snodgrass. We're doing intros now because the show evolves. What's up, everybody? How's it? How you doing, panel? How are things going?
You eventually the evolution will come to an actual intro too. We'll
Yeah,
get
there
there
will be.
eventually. There will be eventually, so it isn't such a shocking into the show.
It's not that shocking. It's you
Nah.
guys, you guys just live boring lives, okay? It's not that shocking. Okay, there's lots.
Well, you don't walk on stage. You do not walk on stage to do your show where you're starting walking in already saying the joke halfway through.
Depends how much time I have.
And if the connection to the mic takes like a few seconds, you're like halfway through the punchline before it actually begins. If that were the case,
Come on, this was funny. There's a funny joke. Why aren't you people laughing yet? Oh, you didn't hear all of it.
You know, I don't have to take this from you.
Who the fuck is this guy?
You know what? Fuck
We don't
you guys.
even know
I'm
his
the host.
name.
We do whatever I want. It's fine. All right, we don't need it. You know what? Fuck you guys. We don't need an intro. We don't need an intro. We're just gonna start halfway through the first. You know what? Pull up the video. I got some great news for
Got
you.
it.
So I was on TikTok recently. I saw a video that warmed my heart. It was a woman in the beginning stages of having empathy for men. And I was so excited. So I sent her a message. I asked her if she wanted to come on the show, and she said yes. So we're figuring out the date right now. But I wanted to show you guys the video that I saw that caused me to reach out to her. And I want to know from you guys, the panel, and you guys, the chat, what you guys want me to ask her when she gets here. I'm so excited. So let's pull this up. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Assuming that I'm going to plan the date, take them somewhere, pay for it, and try to impress them. And I'm just realizing right now in this moment that this is because I'm looking for women. Maybe it's because I'm looking for women. And is this just often your experience that
Yes.
a lot of the people you're trying to date are just wanting to be impressed by you?
Yes.
Or like you're out for an interview?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Isn't that the way
For me, it sucks, and I ignore all of the people that are behaving that way.
I know, but she's used to
I just
doing the
realized that-
interviewing.
I've heard this complaint, and I've brushed off this complaint as incelly behavior. Because, not this exact complaint, but just like, okay, I have some thinking to do on that. I'm not excusing the incels or anything, I'm just realizing how much I hate being
Hold on, pause it real quick.
And if like...
Okay, so she's saying basically she would have, in a previous life, she would have thought of complaining about women wanting to be impressed on dates as, quote, incel-y behavior. And she's not justifying incel-y behavior. Now, as we all know, people who are actually incels don't fucking go on dates, right?
Mhm.
I mean, literally involuntarily celibate. What she means by incel-y behavior is, what she means by incel is man with bad opinion. Okay,
Right,
to
right.
clarify.
Because and to be perfectly fair to her, that's just been the pushed narrative and public misconception of what the actual word means now.
Yeah,
Right,
Because it's overused, just like racist,
Yeah.
sexist.
I mean, they call married men and perfectly happy, stable relationships incels now.
Yeah, guys with
How does
kids,
that
they'll
work?
call them incel.
Right.
Or yeah, and so
So-
that's so the word, and so bear in mind, like what she's saying is she tried to date women, and prior to that, if she had heard someone complaining about the things that she herself is now complaining about, if she heard a man say that, she would have assumed it was illegitimate. She would have just
Right.
immediately assumed. But now that she's experienced it herself, she's like, "Whoa, hold on, I might have to think about this." Okay, can we play the rest of the video? Yeah.
a large population of, because I'm also only getting a subset of women that are open to meeting other women. So I'm wondering if the completely straight girls are even more like this, like because what falls in the same.
She's starting to
is, like,
believe.
I'm a passenger princess. I want like that type of thing.
You need to play that clip of Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Feels like they don't have anything to offer. I think I'm supposed to offer everything.
I'm gonna make a meme of that.
Excellent.
Put her on the Neo.
That this is men's experience, like what I'm experiencing.
She is the
men's
one.
Common experience would be partly because it is the case that women have a lot, generally, that women have a lot of choices, and men have fewer choices.
Oh.
It
Oh.
seems to be the case currently,
Oh,
at
shit.
the very least. But I certainly have never struggled to get a date or a boyfriend or like anything at all. And obviously there are a lot of people out there that are a lot more attractive than I am that, you know, probably just know it and maybe date in a way where they just sit back and say, impress me. Was interesting. Now, this doesn't excuse any of the type of garbage I hear from guys because
we're
There it
all
is.
waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
connect with those people.
She did
Honestly.
had to, you know,
So that's completely
reassure.
Right.
Well,
That's
Go ahead and pause it. Go ahead and
Go
pause it
ahead,
real quick.
because she's
So
pretty-
she said, oh, she's starting to have the realization like, oh, women can afford to be pickier because they're just like inundated with options. And I have another video about this in the chamber that we're going to get to later in the show about why I don't advise that men use dating apps, because I don't advise that you play unwinnable games, because the leverage is stacked so far for the average person. The leverage is stacked so far in favor of women on dating apps that there's almost just like not a point. You're just like not going to be able to get through the noise because they have so many more matches than you. And you don't even understand the degree to which that's really true unless you've seen it from their side. So
So
she's like,
at a casino instead.
yeah, and so she's almost getting to the point of like having, you know, empathy for the male position, but she catches herself being a little too sympathetic, and she's like, no, this is not to excuse bad behavior by men. She has to throw in that qualifier, right?
Yeah.
In order
Catching
to
herself. That's not, she's not trying to appease anybody. She doesn't know what she believes anymore. This is the beginning stages of her
Right.
beliefs shifting and changing. Because when I went through my political awakening, I had similar thoughts, not to sound like a conservative, not to sound like a red pill. And so what I had those exact same thoughts because they are protective. They're protecting you from the cognitive dissonance you are actively putting yourself in, because she's exposing herself to a lot of painful cognitive dissonance. Her worldview is flipped on her head, and now she has to say these things to try and maintain her old worldview while it shifts subtly. So she's not trying to obfuscate or blame men. That is her giving herself a bulwark that allows for her to change.
well, yeah,
She's going through political.
I think
puberty.
everybody that kind of goes through that does that, Arza. I did the same thing too. Like, okay, not to sound like I'm still the same guy. I'm still more center, maybe a little even more left leaning. But
I know
so
we're
I did
just
the
making
same
fun
thing
of
for a
her for saying
long time.
right.
We're
We've
making
all
fun of her
been
not
through
saying-
it. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I actually give her a ton of credit for not only having these thoughts, having this like moment of, but also doing it out loud and in front of people. And if you actually do it,
That takes courage.
she has an audience that she didn't want or expect. Her audience that responded to this video is just a bunch of pissed off dudes. And the dudes that are responding, that actually leave comments, that's not just, there's a lot of dudes who are kind of discontented, right? But the guys who are commenting on TikTok videos are the angriest 5%. And she's, to her credit, she is actually engaging with them in good faith, and she's actually trying to dialogue with them. She's doing her best. The problem is she's now captured a relatively large audience that she fundamentally does not understand. So she doesn't understand where all the heat is coming from. She doesn't quite get it, because you also heard her say she has never in her life struggled to get a date. Now, let me ask the panel: have any of you describe yourselves as never having struggled to get a date? Would any of you describe yourselves that way? Never had a period of struggle.
No. I mean, high school.
I know where to buy
a
some
little
at the
bit.
store.
Right.
Every man goes through that time of struggle of getting into a relationship and actually finding a good relationship. So it's not something that's not new for us. No. It may be something new for her. Now, what I am seeing out of this is, yes, she definitely, I think what ours is right, in that she's definitely in that her views are changing and she's trying to justify that change, and she doesn't know exactly how it's going to change. But the thing is that prior to this, guarantee that content, the audience she built with that content isn't liking the change, is going to have a visceral and very vocal response to that shift. Even though she's experiencing it for herself and her views are changing, her audience that she has grown is not going to side with her and is going to be rather vicious.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It actually takes, I think Iron was right. It takes some courage to do it. Because she, to her credit,
publicly.
To her credit, she is trying to engage with the audience. She has another video, which I didn't show, because I want to save it for the show, where she was like, hey, men, do you guys actually like women? Because a lot of these comments are kind of nasty. And by the way, I kind of get where she's coming from. I have often, when I watch TikTok videos of women talking about men, I often have the same question. I'm like, wow, y'all really hate us, huh?
But the thing is because it's one side that is that vocal that it gets vicious. It's the whole point that a lot of her, I guarantee you, are the ones that I identify as a male feminist.
Yeah.
The hatred is, and again, proof that they really are pretty awful people. Because it's the point that her views are shifting and she's seeing, whether you call it the light or see a different way of thinking about things, they're just vicious and mean about it. I mean, I don't want to throw it to Vagabond, but Vagabond, I'm sure, has had multiple opinions and stuff like that, and being called out for having his views that are opposite of what the narrative should be for a black man.
Well, let's be entirely honest.
That's why I'm the friendly neighborhood Uncle Tom.
Oh shit!
Damn it.
But let's be entirely honest. That's what pushes most of us out all the way. Again, we all started by having one belief that we question, one thing that didn't sit right with the Democrat Party or leftism. And we're questioning one thing. And then we ask our friends about that one thing and they react viscerally. And that is the catalyst that pushes a lot of people away.
Yeah.
What pushes you to become a conservative is to see how liberals treat you when you say something they don't like.
Yeah, it's not even becoming a conservative. It's
centrist.
Just questioning the narrative of anything ever on one side. And you have to stay with the program. You have to keep with the programming at all times. And if you mess an update and you show up a little bit uninformed, or you have, we don't think that anymore. Now we think this. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Selena, to answer your question, she's coming on the show as soon as we can get her on the calendar. We're still going back and forth. It's just like texting any other woman on planet Earth. She's super flaky and she gets back to me when she feels like it. So
I thought you meant she was coming right now, today.
No. I'm not going to do a panel show with her. I'm going to do a one-on-one, and then I'm going to have you fellas in the chat. That's the thing. Let's actually wrap up the video. Iron, finish what you were saying. Then we'll wrap up the video, and then I want to hear from you guys what you want me to ask her, what you get when we finally get her on the show.
You're isolating her, so you're like...
No, I just don't want her to feel ganged up on. Can you imagine her on the panel with fucking Gal here, and Gal's like, all right, listen, you bitch. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I just want
I completely understand.
I don't want, I don't want her sitting around with
it'd also be intimidating just seeing a bunch of fucking,
gooners.
Right.
Respectfully, Vagabond's probably got her spicy content page pulled up while we're talking to her. Just fucking dude, them some nice feet. Shut up. That's not why she's here. All right.
Yeah. And the married guy. So why aren't you married?
All right, go ahead. Let's wrap this up. Let's let her finish.
In that case, if you're deciding that person's a yes for you because she's really hot, then that's the deal you're making. She put her effort in to looking the way that she looks, that made you so into it that you didn't care that she said all those things. So you guys are entering into a little social contract of your own here, and that's going to be on both of you as adults. But I will say that I personally do not like it when the girl just says, show me a good time, make me laugh, I'm a passenger princess. I don't like that at all, and I will not ever entertain it for a second. All right, that was a huge I got off track there.
She's starting to realize that they've removed the partnership from relationships, and it's all become one-sided to. Eddie Murphy said it best in the 80s. It's like women just want the Janet Jackson song. What have you done for me lately? You know,
I was just wondering what was her stance in Lord of the Rings. I saw the other little video on the corner.
God damn.
We'll be cool. We'll be cool and respectful with her with the relationships. Like, where do you stand on Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power?
Okay, see, this is why we have to
get real fucking heated.
This is why we have to do a one-on-one, because I have to keep her away from you fucking gooners.
Real quick,
fucking nerds.
Got Mr. Scott over in the Rumble chat. We have Sammy 3P'd in the Rumble chat. There you go. Say hi.
What's up, girl?
Hey,
how you doing, Toasty? Shout out to the 4%. We love you guys. Let's see who else
we have
is
Selena.
here.
Let's see over on.
Diana's here. Who else we got?
My parents' dogs are here. You probably heard them like 5 minutes ago.
What's up? Oh, Savage Dad was here 2 hours ago and then went back to gooning.
Fuss a baby daddy.
The typical. Selena's here. What's up, girl? So yeah, here's the thing. What I could tell in that video, she's thinking out loud. She hasn't arrived at a conclusion yet as she's kind of making that video. And you see some of her other videos too. She's still kind of like working through it. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay. And she's engaging with her new audience that she definitely did not ask for and does not know what to do with and doesn't really understand. But instead of like yelling at them and lecturing them, she's attempting to engage with them. She does seem like she's kind of skeptical of this idea that women's standards are too high, even though she's experienced it firsthand now. And she still does seem to be a little bit skeptical of that. But I think what it is I think we've set up a paradigm where because it's a low trust environment, women are trying to get all of the privileges and none of the corresponding responsibilities. And they feel like if they don't get that, then the guy they're dealing with is like an asshole or a scrub or whatever. And I think I've said this before, that I think the red pill is girl boss feminism for men, where it's like, you're a strong, independent man who don't need no woman. Just work your job and make your money, girl. You know, like it's the same message and it has the same result of creating bitter, selfish, lonely people. Get
to a point where you can just have a revolving door of non-relationships coming in and out constantly.
Why are you pointing at me? I don't go out on dates.
I wasn't pointing at you. Trust me, I wasn't.
A little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you see, the girl boss stuff is you're perfect the way you are. The red pill stuff still says that the man has to work on himself. So there's a little bit of difference between the two.
That's true. Yeah. It the thing about red pill, this Kevin Gates explained the difference between these two ones. There are lions and there are tigers. When you are a lion, you have your pride, you have your family, and you look after them. Tigers are much more solitary. They're perpetual bachelors. I'm roboting, aren't I?
No.
Oh, I thought that was why Theo started laughing.
No, I'm laughing at Vagabond is talking about homegirl has 4 Tolkien tattoos. And she did an essay on Tolkien. It's like, I think Vagabond might be in love, bro. Can you calm down? This is why we're not doing a panel show. This is why. Right here.
Hey, girl.
This is why we're doing a one-on-one.
Well, she said she
did date men once.
She did a
Tinder date, and her Tinder date was another girl that was into Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. So she was like, I'm also a Tolkien Lord of the Rings fan since high school or whatever. And so I just found the video on TikTok real quick.
Bro, you're on a podcast right now. Can you fucking focus? Can you stop gooning for 2 seconds and just?
I wasn't gooning. I was just interested in what she had to say about.
This was pre-gooning.
He's like, I'm not gooning. I'm interested in her as a person.
How long is it going to be before you're following the spicy content link?
I wasn't looking for it. I was just interested in Lord of the Rings opinion.
No, okay. No, this is
not. Does she ever feed out on her TikTok?
I don't know.
No, shut up. This is why you're not allowed. This is why it's not a battleship. This is why. This is what. God damn it. I knew this was a mistake. All right.
I'm kidding. Reserve your feet for your husband. Wear closed-toed shoes. unless you're at like walking along the boardwalk at the beach or something.
Jesus Christ, Iron, what am I going to do with these people?
I mean, at least have some modesty with your feet.
God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, there are lions and there are tigers. Kevin Gates explained this. Tigers are more they're solitary. They're essentially bachelors, and they mate once and then they move on. A lot of red pill guys, and I don't want to throw shade at particular podcasts or anything here.
I think red pill guys are fucking retarded.
No, I mean there are some of them who are cool, like Justin Waller. He's really cool. Myron Gaines, I have varying opinions on, depending on what time of day and what mood you catch me in. But a lot of these red pill guys, they're like, oh no, you can just run around and fuck bitches. It doesn't matter.
That's what
it does matter. Yeah. That I will throw that warning out there. It doesn't manifest the same way it does for women, but there are negative consequences to men wantonly sleeping around. So, yeah,
and I do want to.
You can't be a liger. Ligers don't exist outside of captivity, and not only that, they're sterile.
Yeah.
So,
and they're retarded and they grow too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you gotta pick one or the other.
All right, so what did we?
The bachelor forever, or you can be the family man. There's no.
All right, so we talked to. So now that we've seen Homegirl and Vagabond's interested in her Tolkien tattoos, we got to ask her about the Tolkien tattoos. Is there anything else I got to ask her about when she gets here? Please do not mention her feet. Is there anything else?
I think it's interesting that she described it as being an interview. Like she described a date as an interview. What it's really like is you're going on Shark Tank, but the shark also wants all of your money.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
No. Like there's one girl, my ex that's locked up or whatever. So at the time I was leaving my capoeira class or whatever. And she was looking at me at the bus or whatever. But I ended up giving her my resume. Her mom was there too. I ended up giving her mom my resume too. And the mom called me one night to come over. And that's how everything happened.
Okay. Well,
I even did a flip for her and everything.
I don't know if that's like a typical experience, Vagabond. I think that might be a little bit unusual.
It was, but
but dating is essentially a job interview.
Yeah, I actually don't object to. I don't object to women wanting to be impressed necessarily. I don't object to that part necessarily.
Sometimes. Like, okay, you kind of like brag about everything that you do to seem impressive or whatever, even if you're not that good at whatever it is. So like I said, I did capoeira moves and stuff, gave her my resume. Mom asked, like, can I get your resume too? I need to know who you are. So I gave the mom my resume as well. And it worked in my favor until she's in prison now, but that's a whole other story.
Wait, you fucked her mom too?
No, I didn't do anything with the mom.
Oh.
Wanted to, but
you said it worked in my. You said it worked in my favor, so it was like, oh, damn! I didn't. I apologize. I didn't recognize your game.
But everything worked out eventually. But it caused a chain reaction, and that's why I'm here in Georgia now.
I will say this is what women don't understand. I think too a little bit when it comes to dating, is that we personally. I mean, I can't speak for all men, but I see it as a job interview. And I think women, if they were to really look at it, see exactly how the date is going. If they're looking for just a fling, you're going to see it in how they're responding. If they're sitting there and actually caring about the relationship and actually doing like a air quotes job interview, you're going to be able to tell. If they're looking for someone for a relationship, you can tell in that first date. If they're just looking to score for that night and kind of just move on, or looking for short term, it's going to be right there, right out in the open for them to see. But unfortunately, women with them, you need to wine and dine me and you need to impress me and entertain me. Well, then the man is not going to sit there and continue to go down and play that game. It's like, okay, well, I see how this is going. If it's a man that's looking for that long-term relationship going, well, there's no long-term potential here.
Well, I think it goes both ways. I think you're also kind of interviewing them to see if, even if they're not into what you're into, if I started off saying how much of I'm a nerd or whatever, and you don't like nerds, and I see that on your face, then I know, oh, okay, well, that ain't gonna work out. That's the type that's gonna tell you to throw away your shit, or like I drive Hondas and shit, and they're like, oh, well, we need to get you have to get rid of your favorite cars and shit, whatever. I like to soup up my Hondas eventually, but like, okay, you're kind of interviewing them to see how their reaction to the things that you do or say that you like to do is as well.
Well, you see, I agree with you guys that it should be a job interview, because in a real job interview, you're also interviewing the company. But that's the real world. But unfortunately, we don't live in the real world anymore, and that's why I compared it more to Shark Tank. You're going out there and you're basically begging for anyone to give you any kind of attention because of how scarce the market is. You need the investors. Doesn't really matter who the investor is, and she wants to know every single thing, and not just whether or not you're good right now, but are you good forever? What is your future growth going to look like? What is your capital growth? And then instead of you going to the shark for the money, the woman is the shark who's also going after your money as well, because she's interested in how much money you make and where you're going to end up in 6 years.
Well, this is important too. That's how the process ours is describing is how women treat guys they don't like. So when a woman is on a date with a guy that she's not optimally attracted to, and she thinks she could do better, then she's going to have higher standards for you, because she's incurring an opportunity cost by being there, because she's not on a date with a guy she's optimally attracted to. So she's looking at you to kind of make up that opportunity cost with something else. Like, you're not as attractive as the guy I could be banging right now, so you're going to have to make that up with like fun or spending money on me or something like that, right? Or this is a person who's, and again, this is assuming that the person you're on a date with is a little bit immature, a little bit narcissistic, not a big forward thinker, not somebody who plans for the future. So probably not someone who's that fun to be on a date with to begin with. And the fact is, people who function that way, if they were on a date with a guy they found more attractive, all of those standards would be gone. All those standards would be gone. If she's on a date with an NBA player, like, then all those standards fly out the window. And so and that's the thing. So I think that by itself, if the person comes to the date with the attitude of impress me, that by itself is a red flag. You should probably walk away from that. And you can kind of insulate yourself a little bit from that by just being more impressive. And as a guy, that comes with time and with building skills and building confidence and building charisma, you can get more impressive, and then you can kind of sidestep some of these hurdles at the beginning. But the reality is, if somebody's coming to you like that and that's their energy right away, it's probably just like not a good person to associate with in general, because their focus is on the wrong things. It's probably, especially if you met that person on a dating app, that's probably somebody who's using those dating apps to farm for attention. But I think the reality that a lot of guys are running into is that a lot of the women that they have opportunities to interface with are functioning that way. They are functioning like impress me, because a lot of them, whether it's true or not, they believe they can do better. This goes back to the gassed up mids discourse that we had on the show last week, where a lot of these gassed up mids are getting pumped and dumped by, guys that they're way, way, way more attracted to. But those aren't the kind of guys that they can actually secure commitment from, but they get stuck on their highest setting. And then they're the guys that they can actually get to go on real dates with, are not the kind of guys that they're like super attracted to. So they're asking for way, way, way more investment from those guys. And that can feel, if you're that guy who's like so you're not Tyrese Halliburton, you're somebody else, right? You feel like, oh, fuck, man, these girls are asking for so much. It's like, yeah, because you're trying to pay her the difference between you and Tyrese Halliburton. or Dak Prescott or whoever. And that's a big difference. Respectfully, Arza, there's a big difference between you and Tyrese Halliburton. Respectfully.
What?
Respectfully. And you're gonna have to pay her a lot you're gonna have to buy that girl a lot of fucking Olive Garden to make up the difference. Respectfully. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest with you.
Olive Garden. Now, do you want to know what there's one question that I hate being asked both on a first date and also on a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Because that usually will get
asked that on a date.
Because I have before. I have been asked that before.
Yeah.
And depending on how the date's going, it's like I can go either one way. I can be honest, or if it's going a bad date, then I go very rude.
Yeah. Well, I think that what's frustrating is like she can ask you, where do you plan to be in 5 years, but you can't ask her, so do you do anal? Like you can't be reciprocally objectifying to her. And this is what we talked about, the leverage for average guys. The leverage is tilted. Unless if you're fucking Dak Prescott or you're Tyrese Halliburton or whatever, then the leverage is way, way, way tilted in your favor.
I think the problem with that, where do you see yourself in 5 years question being asked by a woman on a date is they don't want to hear the answer no matter what it is. Yeah. Because if the guy's honest and says, hopefully, in a secure relationship, either already married or in the process of getting to that point and then looking to the next 5 years, having kids or something to that effect or owning a home, it's like, ooh, he's moving way too fast for me. Or they say, I have no fucking idea, I'm just here for a good time. Well, he's irresponsible. There's really, and this is a problem with women in general, they ask a lot of questions that there's no right answer to, only wrong ones. And I mean, that could be true whether you're on a first date or you've been in a relationship for a few years or even married. That's just kind of, and if women are going to be, a little bit self-aware, they'll realize, okay, yeah, that's kind of something we do.
Right. And I think, okay, so part of the problem with
like try asking a woman what they want for dinner. Okay. There's never a right answer to that either.
Also,
hold on. I actually I don't want to brag too much.
Go ahead.
But there was this one time a while back when I actually asked. It was like some goofy fucking I don't even remember. It was a frigging communications class in college that it was required for. We had to interview each other, and one of the questions that I was required to ask her was, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And she just straight up said to me, I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. And then I immediately just snapped back and I said, well, if you don't know what you're doing tonight, do you want to have dinner with me? So, you can get slick with it. You can play with it. Flip it around. Work with this is something that I see a lot. A lot of people get and I don't want to be too I don't want to look down my nose at it or anything, but a lot of people get caught up with idealism. They get caught up with how things should be, and they kind of stray from realism and like understanding how to work with what they've got. So it's important to strike them. I don't know, strike them. I don't know. Figure out to work with what you got to get where you want.
Another wrong answer to that question on a date is, what if you just say, well, I'm focusing on, like, for you, Theo, it'd be my comedy career. Or if any guy is saying that I'm really trying to move up in my company, I'm focusing on writing a book, B.S. Warren, whatever it is, finishing college and trying to find a career. Oh, well, he'll have no time for me.
Yeah,
think about what is the right answer in a date. Now, in a job interview, you always just bullshit them and say, with your company and hopefully you're advancing. But on a date, no right answer. None.
Well, obviously,
so that in 5 years, it's inappropriate to say the boss, hopefully fucking your wife.
No, probably not.
No, say that.
That's also not going to take 5 years.
If she asks you, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Let's get you the benefits package now.
Yeah. If she asks you, where you see yourself in 5 years, say probably fucking one of your friends or something goofy like that, and then be like, nah, just kidding afterwards. Just like ambush her with something. Completely knock her off balance.
You just tell her, I'm only interested in where we find ourselves tonight.
Yeah, don't take advice from these people. God, fucking Zoomers. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is what I'll say. I think one of the reasons this discourse is frustrating is, one, there are no right answers. That's like Iron is saying. Two, you're not competing with real guys. You're competing with the imaginary guy in her head that has everything. So there's a guy in her head that is a combination of the hottest guy she's ever fucked, the hottest guy she's ever had a crush on, and the hottest 3 guys she's read about in smut books. And that's who your competition really
is also independently successful with all the time in the world to dedicate to nothing but you always.
He's independently wealthy and makes a ton of money, and he's also super focused on her. And again, this is where what we're talking about here is a subset of women that is not 100%. This is the emotionally immature, really difficult to deal with. The kind of women, when I say the kind of women who don't have any kind of theory of mind for men and don't have any empathy for men, that's the kind of women that we're talking about here. So if you find yourself on a date with one of those women and she rejects you, that's actually good for you. You may not realize this because her boobies are so jiggly, but you're dodging a bullet. Okay. If one of these women rejects you, it's actually a good thing. It's not, you actually want to, one of the reasons I'm so excited to talk to Homegirl from TikTok is because you could actually see her thinking, like she's having thoughts out loud. She's doing it right in front of us in public. She's having thoughts, and you can see like the beginning of like, wait, do men have a point? She's not 100% there yet, but you can see it. And I'm telling you, that right there, just having the thought that men might have a point.
And she wants to understand.
And she actually wants to learn more. She's interested in pursuing the conversation more. And when I invited her on the show, she asked what we were going to talk about so that she could prep, which means she's actually like having thoughts and taking it seriously. And she's interested in having good faith dialogue with her new audience, which, like we said, is not like, that's increasingly rare. So that by itself is fascinating. Hold on. I know the chat's popping off. What's going on over here? Your task as a man should be to convince a woman that her standards are delusional. I'm not a consolation prize. Would be, I actually agree. Like if you find a woman who's just like absolutely out of her mind, then I would just say have good luck with that and keep it pushing. Women will swipe on 4.5% of men. This means 95% have no reason to participate in online dating. I actually agree with this. So this is actually, I actually don't. We have another video to get to about this, but one of the big things I say on the show all the time is don't play unwinnable games. That's great. We might have to bust that out with you here. What's up, Third Round? What I mean by don't play unwinnable games is if you find yourself in a situation where the rules of the game are stacked against you, and even if you win, the prizes aren't that good, then don't even play, because it's going to demoralize you. Play a game you can win, or invent a new game. You know,
Theo, that's a thing. That Railify isn't that, like, that's not a joke. It's an actual online calculator.
No, I'm familiar. I'm familiar. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play with. But go ahead, Iron.
I was going to say one of the biggest problems with just the online dating has evolved into something it probably was never meant to be.
Yeah,
but because the purpose of the online dating is for these companies that run these online dating services make money off of them. So now they leaned into something that's more detrimental to society than what it is, because something I've said on the show, I've said this to Arza, Nate, when he was on here, and it's a problem with both men and women that you're not humanizing each other. Like you see a very attractive girl and you're not just thinking that's just another person that, if you walked up to her and talked to her, there's a good chance she's going to be just as nervous about you talking to her as she is to you. Now there's this wall in between both men and women where we're not seeing each other as people. And that's kind of a stigma that has been pushed upon society, especially youngins, by the online dating apps. That's all my point was.
It's a commodity for the dating apps where the users are just a commodity, and they have no incentive to actually get people to have successful relationships because then they lose their client base. They need
interact as people,
right?
I want to push back a little bit on what you said, because it's not so much that dating apps are forcing everyone to see each other as not people. It's there was a subset of men and women who always
I said society itself in a lot of ways, then too.
Yeah,
like modern society.
There were always a handful of men and women, the whores, who never saw each other as people. Some of them don't even see themselves as people. That's why they become living fleshlights. So they don't really care about each other. But what dating apps did is it allowed for women to democratize the dating pool and have access to everybody, which made women see men as less than people in a lot of cases, because nothing more than a swiping. And then because women stopped treating men like people, that caused men to stop treating women like people. It was a cause and effect. Well,
and the men that are successful on the dating apps, you think they see these women as people to either?
They do not.
Those are the people looking for the living cum dumpsters.
They do not. It is that's the thing. Dating apps make it very, 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 very easy to objectify people and to
form a real human connection. That doesn't.
No, it's not. That's not gonna happen.
That's a struggle right now. That's what. Like, I really feel sorry for anybody in the dating scene right now.
Okay, so I have a little more on this actually. So let's do while we're talking about this is actually a really good segue to another video. How I recommend, because the dating apps are so much more chopped and so much more cooked than anyone realizes. And as bad as you think they are, I promise that they're worse. And we'll go and pull that up. This is why I say actually data suggests that the best place to meet people is still through mutual friends. Now, the problem with that is that nobody has fucking IRL friends anymore. Right. That's the issue with that. And in these online spaces, they're like 10% female. So invariably the women are no offense, ladies. Invariably, these women are delusional with personality disorders, or they're married, or they're completely fucking ran through. Like that's like who's like no offense, ladies. We'd love to have you. Not you ladies, though.
Not
other
the
ladies.
4%. Shout out to the 4%.
Shout out to the 4%. Y'all are quality. Not the women we have on this show. Those women are great. But the other women in streaming, those are the ones that are the problem. Let's go ahead and pull up this video before I get myself in trouble.
Here's exactly why I don't have Hinge. My sister literally downloaded Hinge 48 hours ago, and look at this shit. What the... Guys, what the hell? Oh my goodness, what the... I will literally be happy if I get 5 likes. To all the guys on Hinge, just because you were the fastest sperm doesn't mean... It is the next morning and I still can't comprehend what I've just witnessed. How do you have what? How do you even keep track of all the conversations you have? Probably overwhelming for girls on dating apps. Like there's just so many. It's like don't even want to.
Bro, can you aim the camera at your face in a way that doesn't make your haircut look like a fucking coffee table?
Time to find someone in real life.
Please.
I never heard of Hinge before. So.
I don't know what that is.
Hinge is a dating app.
It's another
That's all you need to know.
Hinge is considered the best dating app by people because it
is considered the best dating app because of branding. They branded themselves the best dating app and people believed it. It's not actually better than the other ones.
And it was rough when the best dating app wasn't an app at all when I was dating. It was bars and shit. You gotta go to a bar.
I use MySpace dating. It worked out a bit.
Problem with bar dating now is every single person has a beluga whale to protect the treasure, and you got to get past the land.
That's always been a thing.
That's why you're the wingman.
Yeah.
You can just talk your way out of that if you know what you're doing. And it used to be by the time you got to the age of 22, you'd already shot your shot and been rejected hundreds of times. The issue now is that men didn't learn that skill because when y'all were teenagers, that was the Me Too era. So women waged a propaganda campaign to tell it was like a full frontal assault on the concept of flirting. And then they forgot that they did it. And then they made a bunch of TikTok videos complaining that no men are approaching them.
Well,
they forgot that they told us they didn't want to be approached. They completely. It's like, what happened? Go ahead.
But it gets a little bit worse than that because it also is the system where now that men don't have any friends, usually you would ask out a woman who you've been talking to for a little while. But in the era where men don't have friends, now those women that he would be approaching to date are his friends, and he's not going to ask them out because if they say no, friendship's over, they've lost a friend. It's a net loss to ask somebody out who you would normally ask out in a.
That's always been a thing too. That's not a new concept either.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a worse concept.
It's just right. It's just
few friends.
Harder now.
Yeah, there's more of a cost to it now. And and it used to be okay. Like if you have a group of friends and somebody's going to know somebody or somebody's going to have a sister or whatever, and you guys can date through mutual friends. That's actually always
why did your
been.
Voice change when you said sister.
I'm going through puberty. So that's always, but that's always been a more successful, more stable way to form relationships. The problem, like, here's the thing, like approaching people at bars was only the norm for a brief period in the 20th century. And even then, it was not the most common way people formed relationships. That was still meeting through mutual friends or meeting people that your family knew. Like approaching people, random strangers for relationships has never been normal. That used to be so rare that they would write whole books about people who did it. That's what fucking Don Juan was, right? They used to write like epic tales about dudes who knew how to do that because it was such a rare skill set. So it's so remarkable that James Bond could just like walk up to some bitch with a martini and be like, "Sup, bitch, want to drop them panties?" And she'd be like, "Yes, James Bond." Like the reason that was so crazy is because people didn't know how to fucking do it. Like that was never the norm. Like, and so it was always way more normal to just go to a house party and one of your friend's nosy ass girlfriend sets you up with one of her unfortunate single friends. That's always that.
People would have
people
would have the circle of friends with the interchangeable like male and female dating. We talked about this a little bit last night on my show. Like in high school, we all remember there'd be the circle of friends that had the girl, there was the tribe of the girls over here in high school, the tribe of the guys that were in the similar groups that would interdate. A couple of them would get in a relationship, and if that ended poorly, all the other guys that were dating, either short term or even long term, would start being on pins and needles because once the one had the bad breakup, then she's going to start talking to the friends, and they're all going to start dumping their boyfriends like bad habits.
No, that happens. And the other thing too now is that we've thought about it. I would say the other thing too now is that relationship norms have changed. Like women, like the data suggests that women don't want to be in long-term relationships. They actually want to be single. I think I saw a stat recently, only 40% of women even want to have children. And that's so it's like, okay, well, there you go. It's actually men who want to be in long-term relationships now. And I think part of that is because of the way that the leverage has shifted. The leverage because of dating apps and some of these other societal forces right now. The leverage has shifted way, 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 way in favor of women in terms of women have way, 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 way more dating options, especially women under 30, which is particularly true. And women under 30 are also out earning men under 30 financially by a pretty significant margin. And I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion is that those stats are downplaying the disparity. I think there's a really strong likelihood there's a lot of men under 30 who are just completely checked out of the economy and are just cooked. Right. So, because of dating apps, they have essentially no options. And I mean, we talked about this on the show last week, that the supposed chopped man epidemic, where you've got women who are like not remarkable, like just like a typical woman who's complaining about like, I'm stunning and beautiful and so are all my friends, and we can't find men who are equals. And of course, what she means is there's not a bunch of Tyrese Halliburtons walking around her. There aren't enough Tyrese Halliburtons for each of her friends to have one. That's what she means by that. And so online, I think online dating plus the government putting the thumb on the scale to make things a little bit easier for women in a lot of areas of life has created this scenario where women are kind of disconnected from the harshness of reality in a lot of ways. And they think that men are failing despite having the system stacked in their favor, when the reality is that men are failing because the system is it's a natural consequence of the system being stacked against them in a lot of ways. And a lot of women find this idea that there are institutional barriers to men advancing and establishing themselves to be just completely on its face laughable. They won't even entertain the idea. And a lot of women struggle with the idea that men even have legitimate problems. Like originally this girl, the TikTok girl from the beginning of the show, when I saw her video, I sent that to my lesbian friend. Shout out to my lesbian friend of the channel, my lesbian communist friend. I sent that to her to see if I could get an empathy response from her, because I've been kind of covertly trying to see if there was any piece of information that would cause my lesbian communist friend to have empathy for men. And the way she's responded historically is, I'm sorry that happened to you, Theo, but I don't think that's a very widespread phenomenon. That's one way she's responded. Or she'll say flatly, men don't think like that. Just you think like that. This is a lesbian. Her mental model for how men think comes from feminist literature she studied in grad school. My mental model for how men think comes from being a man and talking to men every day of my life. But when
are you getting this brought on this show so she can have a coming to Jesus?
Eventually. And the other one that I got a lot from her is, this just feels like whining to me. Like, get over it. You've controlled the world for thousands of years. Like, get over it. Like, that's how she typically responds. So I was trying to see if there was anything I could show her. So I was like, wait, what if another queer saying it? Will that cause her to have empathy for men? The answer is no, it didn't. But
no, of course not.
But it's I think her, her perspective is not an unusual one. I think that's how most women feel. I think most women hear male problems as whining. I think most women kind of feel men's problems are illegitimate. It's going to be really hard to get women to feel bad for men as a class. And I don't think that's a reasonable, because their gut reaction is like, ugh, shut up whenever we complain, because it's our job to fix problems. It's their job to whine. Right. So I think if you're a guy and you're really lucky, you might find a woman who empathizes with your specific problems. But I think if your goal is to get women as a class to like and respect and feel bad for men as a class, I think you're tilting at windmills. I think you're lucky if you can find one. If you find one woman who has empathy for men, fucking get her pregnant and don't look back.
No, I will say,
that's my advice. Get women pregnant. Friend of the channel, pregnancy. All right, go ahead. What you guys?
You did say one thing that is a little bit different. You said that men are losing the game, and that's what women think men are losing the game. In reality, men aren't playing the game anymore. That's the real issue.
What's the difference? Tell me the difference.
When you're losing the game, that means you're actively participating. You're showing up. You're trying to put in the work, and then everything is coming out negative. And that's usually down to either society has rules against you, or you're just not putting in the effort. Women see us as not putting in the effort. They think we're failing to put in the effort and just expecting to get the patriarchy to give us what we want. In reality, the patriarchy doesn't exist, and we were losing, and so we just gave up. We don't try anymore. So men aren't getting the major jobs. They aren't moving out of their parents' houses. They aren't buying their own house because there's no reason to do it, because if we try to play this game, we're just going to come out all lost.
Right.
Yeah, that's like you said earlier, Thea, don't play losing games. Well, right now, there are a lot of losing games. When you've been told at work, like, you're not going to get, you already know why try to excel in a company that has no intention of ever giving you any opportunities because you don't fit the right demographic to achieve? Why not just do the bare minimum to get by, just to coast from day to day, not put in any additional effort for anything, and just make yourself as moderately comfortable as possible so that you can continue the cycle until death? And that's where a lot of the hole that a lot of these guys have put themselves in, or have been placed in, because everything's a losing game, like ours is saying. So I do see where that might. And now, is that the right way to think? Of course not. And there are always ways to overcome it, even though everything is kind of stacked against you. And women aren't really seeing that is the case right now. They're just, like they said, well, why can't I'm making more than the average man. Why can't I find a guy? They wanted to be put in that position where they're making as much or more as men, but they still want a man that makes more than them. They still want the things that are traditionally valued.
Yeah.
So where does that put the scales of relationships in society now?
Yeah. They don't. So it's weird because they were told that they would have to work 10 times as hard as a man to be half as successful. And then they looked around, they don't see any men who are as successful as they are. So they assume, oh, these men just must be lazy. And reality is the government put a finger on the scale, which allowed them to be more successful. And it held men back. So really, they had the wind at their back the whole time, but they believe that they had to work 10 times as hard to be half as successful. So they believe in anti-truth. So not only are their accomplishments less impressive than they think they are, but they believe that they're way 10 times exactly as impressive as they believe they'd be 10 times impressive as they actually are. So their sense of how things are wildly inflated. I had somebody say recently that men aren't doing worse than women necessarily. It's really just that men are the canary in the coal mine, which is to say that the whole economy is about to crash, that these bullshit laptop jobs that are just daycare for white women aren't going to last forever. And eventually we're all going to be poor, and women are going to be like, trading their pussy for a can of beans like they did in the Weimar Republic. I don't know. Maybe that's true. I hope it's not, because that's fucking horrible. But I do think that this level of like decadence and delusion is only sustainable in a prosperous society. And if you've seen the national debt recently, you can't just give unlimited free unicorns to everyone forever. That's not policy. Anyway, speaking of guys who haven't completely given up, B.S. Warren, I actually brought you on the show for an hour in, and I forgot about it. You went somewhere recently, man on the street, in the field, doing things. You want to talk about that? Tell us where you went over there.
Yeah, in the field, and I'm not even black. So recently, I was up in Atlantic City. Yeah, recently I was up in Atlantic City, which is crazy. But yeah, I was up in Atlantic City. I was there for an author and reader event, and I have the link in the private chat. Unfortunately, I can't pull it up on my laptop because then my laptop is going to collapse beneath the weight of simple internet browsing while on stream. But yeah, so it was called Aces Wild. It was basically it was primarily romance author focused, but I the booth fee was pretty low compared to some of the other cons I've gone to. Not to throw shade at them, I know you gotta cover the the convention center fees and stuff. But I saw it, the fee was relatively cheap, so I was like, you know what, why the heck not? I'll go. I'll see if I can sell a couple books. It was a time. It was a time. So I just out the gate, just to preface, I did not pick fights with anybody. I didn't like walk up to the monster fucker author tables and be like, oh, you're one of those, aren't you? I didn't do that. But it nevertheless, it remained a disaster. So if you look at Emerald, I don't know if you could pull it up. It's the that Eventbrite link. So they sold the tickets through Eventbrite, right? And the way the schedule looks, is anybody pulling it up? Sorry.
Did you post the comment in the private chat?
Yeah, I posted
okay,
that link in the private chat. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, like I said, my laptop doesn't do well with. Oh yeah.
I accidentally kicked my power cord and completely shut down my entire system.
Womp womp.
Oh, that's why you left. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's why I left.
Yeah. Where I'm trying to look at it right now. Yeah.
I can bring it up if you want.
I got it.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So if you scroll, what is it? View event. Click that. Yeah. View details. Yeah. So this is the whole roster. I freely confess I was very worried out the gate because I saw I was only one of 3 male authors that were going to show up. Right. It was Mike, Chris, and myself. I didn't see Mike or Chris while I was there, but luckily there were a lot more dudes because, books when you carry more than one, when you carry more than 5, they tend to be heavy, and so all the boyfriends got to carry the books and the merch in, the boyfriends and the husbands, and there was a teenage kid in the booth next to mine, so he was actually cool. I got to talk to him for a bit. Teenagers are way cooler than adults. Not to throw shade at the adults.
Hey,
here.
yo.
I'm an adult. Sorry.
That is not touch grass approved.
That is not.
That is not.
Not like that.
No.
Not like that. You
Hey,
know, not
no.
like that. I don't. That's sickening.
Oh, I got thoughts on that, man. You go to a fucking concert nowadays, like, and the teenagers are these autistic dorks that don't know how to interact with people, and it's all the 30 to 40-year-olds that are there to fucking party.
Or they don't know how to do the wall of death at the heavy metal concert.
Hold up. Now, I'll say this right here. Teenagers, I love teenagers. Teenagers are cool. Kids in general, I love kids. What I can't fucking stand is the way their parents raise them. That's what gets on my last goddamn nerve. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Aces Wild Author and Reader events. So there were luckily more dudes there than I thought. So if you scroll down to the schedule, okay, please. Thank you.
We're right there.
Wait, where is it? No, that's other events. It should be scroll up a bit. That button, I think. View all event details. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I didn't realize. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so about this event. Yeah, so Friday night there's a meet and greet between the authors, some of the authors and the readers. I think that was VIPs. I think that might have been VIPs only. Oh, no, the VIP party Saturday night was VIPs only. Then Saturday there was the main signing event. That was from like 9 to 4. And then wait, that might not be right, actually. Yeah, I'll get to more of the details in a moment. The VIP party, yeah, and then Sunday, the day after, they had or they were supposed to have a breakfast. The only thing on this list that actually happened was the main signing event. This was a complete fucking disaster logistically. All the other authors. So this was a hot conversation topic while I was there. A lot of the other, I don't want to speak it too ill of the people there, because some of them were very nice, but it's romance. Most of the women, or most of the people there are women, and these romance authors, some of them are very catty, like very, very catty. And so they were nasty and foul about their distaste for how poorly this event was handled in private among each other. And only recently, actually, I can't show it, unfortunately, but I can pull it up on my phone and I can show you some of this stuff, or I can read it. I can read some of the stuff if I can fucking speak. But it was a complete logistical nightmare, and these authors, these romance authors, were fucking livid. So it was. So originally, what was it? It's somewhere in here, right? There was supposed to be a lunch catered, right? If you paid for it, that didn't happen. Apparently, according to the organizers, a union runs the convention center up in Atlantic City, and the union said you're not allowed to bring in outside food. They didn't tell anybody until like the day of or like the night before, something like that. So all of a sudden, they had to figure out new lunch plans. Also, there were only about I don't know the true number of attendees. Only 8 people came by my table, and I only sold 1 book, which sounds horrible, but given the circumstances and given the like when you run the number, that's like a 1 out of 8 people. That's like a 12.5% pitch to sale rate. That, in my opinion, that's pretty good because the average it's like a sales thing. Never mind. But oh my word, these authors, they are fucking livid because this event was a complete disaster. Yeah, and a lot of them, they're asking for refunds right now. I'm looking at the Facebook group right now. They are fucking pissed. They're asking for refunds. They're for the event sponsorships because the sponsor that nobody fucking came through. They're asking for refunds for the catering because they never got the lunch. Some of the attendees, because there was no VIP party. The VIP party got canceled because only 19 people RSVP'd. The VIP, the extra money that people would have paid to go to the VIP party, the organizer said, "Oh, we're going to donate it to charity." That did not go over well. Some of the attendees are asking for refunds for their VIP tickets, and there was supposed to be an anthology of authors and their stuff from the event. That also got canceled. This was a complete this was like a Katrina level disaster. And the lady, what is it? CD. Her name is probably somewhere on here. The organization is called Cuffed in Chicago. But the CD Dixon, CD Mixon. Well, I can't remember her name. She has actually resigned from the organization. She was the prime point of contact for this, because it was handled so fucking poorly, and people are actually, because people spent so much money on this event, or so much extra money outside. I only paid for the booth, right? I only dropped my $200 for the booth, and mine was like a full table, which is why it cost $200. And I was expecting to take a loss on the convention scene at some point, so it didn't hit me that hard. I also visited Crispy Pizza, which is bomb. But yeah, it was a complete fucking disaster. But I know Theo wants the good stuff, the somewhat pornographic stuff. I have Theo. I sent it to your DMs.
Okay. Hold on.
It is, so it's advertised on Twitter. Yeah. It's advertised. I actually bought this because this looks fucking sick. Because this cover actually looks sick. Even though the premise isn't like super interesting to me. It's called Skin. That's by Sybil Knight. She had the booth behind me. And she left early because she was mega fucking mad that nobody was at this event. A lot of people, by the way, the event, it says doors close at 4. People were packing up by noon.
All right. Can you send it to Emerald so he can pull it up?
Yeah. Let me
shoot over to Emerald. So I'm because I'm also on a laptop over here.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it was complete nightmare. But yeah, it's called Skin. It's like it's like a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I haven't gotten into it yet. I'm still reading book 2 of the Hellborn King series right now, and hopefully this sends. Yeah, I got it. I'm trying to send it to you right now, Emerald. But it's called Skin. It's supposed to be a Rumpelstiltskin retelling that's like super dark. Like I don't want to. I don't know if it has BDSM in it, but it's that dark, like, you know, whips and chains type romance.
Why are they doing a horny Rumpelstiltskin? Like, who asked for this?
No, well,
because all of those horny villain books sell a lot.
I will say this, you know, there are some concepts that, you know, like I said, the premise of this wasn't like super appealing to me. It was mainly the cover that grabbed me. But hey, if one of the biggest things that people don't tell you about with writing, especially big name authors, you can do pretty much whatever the hell you want as long as you're nimble enough to get away with it. I mean, I've got a killer robot werewolf in one of my books, or in Young Monarchs. I've got, you know, I get off the walls with I got my character, my main, I mean, I say it in the pitch for my book all the time. My characters do mushrooms and then cause several international incidents, and then they have to go behind their parents' backs to, you know, patch things up before war breaks out, right? You get, if you're nimble enough to pull it off, and, you know, you can do pretty much whatever. So I don't want to, I will reserve judgment until I've actually looked at it. And this doesn't look like a dog turd, by the way. One of my big things, I actually mentioned this on Twitter recently. Yeah. I'm not going to knock you for liking what you like. And, you know, I will do my best to give things a try, but do not sit here and try and sell me a dog turd. And especially don't hit me with that fucking don't believe your lying eyes bullshit, because that's a surefire way to get on my last nerve. But this right here, this is Skin by Civil Knight. It's a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. Let me see if I can pull up the Amazon page. But yeah, the cover the cover looks freaking sick. There were also a couple of Monster Fucker books about. There was what is it? It was like Mated with a Demon, something like that. The author's name is Sarah Spade. And again, if this is your if these are your genres, you know, I'm not. If I laugh, it's because I find the content amusing. I'm not laughing at the reader base. I'm not, you know, laughing at the authors. But yeah, basically it's a big horn, you know, like tieflings from D&D.
Yeah.
It basically looks like a really buff one of those. He's purple, and apparently his meat is freaking huge. Like that's like ours looked up. Yeah, it's in like the blurb.
Arza, there you go, Arza.
On Amazon. Yeah, but ours is like, no, I prefer them to be human. But yeah, there were a couple Monster Fucker books there. There was, what was it? There was one lady that does like not 80s and 90s girl romance, which is like, I suppose it would be like a period piece, and of course Iron's not here to, you know, make a face and be like, what the hell is he talking about? But it's basically like people meeting at the freaking roller skating rink, and, you know, all that. Lots of smut also, by the way. A lot of smut. Yeah, a lot of smut, a lot of romance. I was the only strictly fantasy author there. There was, right next to me, there was a lady that did like other conventions, but she's more like urban fantasy / romantasy. So with the female characters, who are like half vampire and wield dual swords, and yeah. But yeah, it was the event. I mean, like I said, I didn't like pick fights with anybody, but it was logistically, it is a complete fucking disaster. And it actually goes to show you, I've mentioned before, and I think Theo agreed with me. I don't want to speak for you. But I mentioned previously on another touch grass that women are herd animals. They tend to, congregate and go the direction that, is dictated. It's really funny because I actually saw that in this author Facebook group where everybody's asking for refunds, because at first, for the first like 3 to 4 days after the event, everybody was very polite, everybody was very professional. Some of them conceded that it was it was a rough time, but they appreciated the opportunity to meet all these different authors from all over. And 4 days ago, somebody finally stepped up and said, "What the fuck? I want a refund." And then it was like the fucking floodgates opened, because all of a sudden there like 20 other women piped up and they were like, "I want my money back too." And it's just a freaking barrage. And yeah, the organizers are catching a lot of smoke right now. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it, because it is what it is. I was expecting to take a loss at some point. And it's only two. Yeah.
Did your sell that one book cover the cost of the pizza?
Yeah.
All right,
nice.
Good.
Yeah, and look, like I said, it's crispy. This is. I don't know if you guys follow him on YouTube, because they've actually got a YouTube channel. It's Crispy Pizza. They've got three. I say three locations because it's three brothers that run the company. It's the oldest brother manages the Brooklyn store. The second youngest, or the second youngest brother, I met him. He manages the Freehold store, and then the youngest manages the store in Old Bridge, and then they've got another location in New Brunswick, and then someplace else. But that alone, that was well worth it.
Excellent.
I was very pleased. If you guys, it sounds goofy because it is like a pizza joint, and you're like, what, pizza joint having a YouTube channel? But they do like all shorts. Excuse me, they're on Instagram too.
Cool.
Yeah, they're really cool. So if you guys are in near any of the Crispy Pizza locations, you gotta go grab a slice. I got the trio. I got a slice of the trio pie, and I got a slice of their hot honey and pepperoni. And then on my way out, I got a cheesesteak pinwheel and a buffalo chicken pinwheel.
Excellent. Sponsor this half hour, Crispy Pizza.
Yeah. Yeah,
everybody.
It was so Crispy Pizza, and I shared the adventure with one person. That's what matters. So I'm not dwelling on it too much. But these women are fucking livid.
Excellent. This will be we're going to continue to follow up on this story. We're going to keep track of
and
this.
By the way, I mentioned this was in Atlantic City, right? How many of you guys have been to Atlantic City before?
I don't think so.
That I have.
I lived there for exactly the first month of my life.
Okay. Fair warning. If you go on a weekend, the rate for hotels is fucking exorbitant. Like, I mean, like, there are some places, like some resorts there, you're getting like the base, like one like king bed or whatever, like your average hotel room at one of these fucking casino resorts, it's like $800, $900 a night. I only stayed Friday night to like trim down the cost, but if I had stayed like Friday and Saturday, it would have run me $300, like $300 to $400. It's insane how much they price those hotels at. I stayed at Harrah's, so.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry that wasn't as entertaining as
that's okay.
As, yeah,
that's okay.
Everybody was probably rubbing their hands like, oh, he's gonna talk about like Morning Glory Milking Farm or some weird monster fucker shit. And there was a little bit of that, but it wasn't like.
Were any of the women there the ones caught using ChatGPT to write their books?
No. There were. This might sound weird, and I don't want any of the ladies to see this and think I'm being judgmental. There were a lot of women 35 plus there. I was the youngest author there. A lot of the women there were around 35 or older. There quite a few of them were 45 and older. Yeah. A lot of the older ladies, they wrote like vampire. There was a fair amount of vampire romance there.
They all watched Twilight.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm sure they did watch Twilight, but these women that wrote this vampire romance, they're, you know, again, not passive judgment, but they're in like their 60s and their 70s.
They're probably writing more Anne Rice.
Yeah. There was a lady that looked like Anne Rice there. But yeah, it was unmitigated. Oh, and they had us in the front hall of the convention center. They didn't give us like an actual room. They just stuck us like in the space between the stair, like around one of the staircases and by the front doors. And also, excuse me, there was no vendor's map. There were no reserve booth spaces. They tried to set up like a seating chart and stuff with like the booth spaces mapped out for everybody. But that completely fell to shit. And when everybody got there on the day of, it was first come, first serve, which I didn't have a problem with because I got there at like 7:15, 7:30. But for the vendors that came later in the day, or that came later that morning, they wound up with like the worst spots possible, like sitting in like the back corner, like in the corner behind the stairs. Like it was a complete, just unrestrained disaster. Yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to, I sit here and I think about the experience, and I'm trying to relate it to basically like I'm trying to relate it to like sales and the statistics we get from all these fucking all these studies about, you know, the gender gap in reading, right? Because allegedly, according to the organizers, over 200 people signed up to come to this event. Only 8 of them walked past my table, and the space we were in was not very big. So I sit here and I wonder, you know, if women really are the dominant reading demographic, you know, how come more of them didn't come through to this event? And obviously, you know, like I said, there's a lot of it that can be chalked up to, you know, the absolute just ineptitude of the organizers.
Well, yeah, let me ask you something. Are women the dominant reading demographic, or is reading just how women consume their porn, and they're consuming porn in roughly the same numbers as men?
Well, hold on. It's that, but there's also a mixture of things happening there.
Okay.
So in reality, I'm going to say this, and I don't have scientific evidence. I'll be honest about that. But I have a counter argument for that, which is okay. But I'm of the opinion that the gender reading gap is not real at all. I think reader numbers are actually pretty much more or less the same. I think the reason why all these studies claim that there is one is because all these statistics are coming from one of two places: either public schools, where literacy rates, especially among young men, are notoriously poor, or they're coming from people being polled and people being polled in bookstores, which cater predominantly to women. So obviously, in both of those places, you're going to get some very skewed results.
Yeah.
You're not, you know, and so, and also for so long, I mean, Theo, we've talked about it before. The industry, the traditional publishing industry has a very bad habit of trend chasing, and this is a habit in corporate entertainment because the people in these C-suites, they are not, and I'm not trying to knock on old people here or anything, but you know, Iron and Emerald, when you guys were younger, you know, like back in the 90s and stuff, you had a very different kind of individual sitting in the big office in those companies. Now it's like these people. I mean, you see the ineptitude of corporate lawyers, right? Legal Mindset went over this, I think, when with the Amber Heard trial. because corporate lawyers and Theo, I don't want to talk too much about shit not related to, comedy or dating or stuff like that, because I know you probably don't want to talk about old day jobs, but you probably saw this too. There are people that sit pretty in these offices doing fuck all day long, except, maybe going to dinner with their, colleagues or whatever. But they don't do anything. And then when the rubber meets the road and they have to do something, they show that they are completely fucking incapable. And that's especially true among people in executive positions. I mean, we see it right now with Bob Iger, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those people, unfortunately, a lot of those people have control of the traditional publishing industry. And what they do is, because they're not in tune with their customer base, because they don't understand the kind of market that they're catering to, because they don't understand what exactly their objective as a publisher should be, what happens is they pay consultants to basically tell them who their audience is. And obviously they wind up paying the wrong people. And not only do they pay the wrong people, they pay yes men, which basically just affirm whatever, because they want to stay in that consultant position. And then they wind up catering to this part of the market that either doesn't really exist or isn't really, it isn't really sustainable long term. And I will say the market for monster fucker fiction and all that, that market does exist. It is not nearly as large and not nearly as dominant as people have been led to believe. And a lot of these numbers are extremely skewed. A lot of these sales numbers are extremely skewed. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I know I've been going for a while.
I think what's really happening is the percentage of women who read women targeted publications, percent of men who read male focused publications is the same percentage, but the number of publications has been massively reduced. So
yes.
Theo has talked about a lot. Women will read 100 books in a year. They'll skim through and they'll jack off or flick their beans to these handful of books that nobody's actually has any interest in reading, because it's the monster fucker book, and they'll go through a bunch of them. They'll skim through a bunch of them. And so the same percentage of women is buying women books, but there are so many women books compared to how many male books there are that's where the real dichotomy comes in. What was it? 2 years ago, I think it was, there was exactly 0 male published books in the published through official chains of publication.
Yeah.
All male published books were 100% of the male books were indie published. And so there are men out there who want to read, but none of them are being rewarded with the ability to do so.
Or the incentivized. I don't know if rewarded is. I don't want to pick and poke at semantics, but it's more incentivized than rewarded. There's nothing in the niche that really caters to them, so they're not really inclined to get in.
Also, rewarded, I mean presence.
By the way, if women were really that big on reading, then their thought leaders would definitely be impressive, right? Emerald, let's check in with the greatest thought leader of women today, the host of the Call Her Daddy podcast.
Oh, fucking A.
Let's go ahead and play that beautiful bean footage. Let's get this show back on
the topic.
topic.
Has a very big issue with my past. He found my list of people I have been with, and he was pissed. He actually broke up with me initially, but after a while, we got back together. The issue now is I feel like he is constantly making judgmental comments about me being easy or having a high body count. He always says he's just kidding, but how can I get him to stop caring that I was with guys before him? I feel like every single girl has a list of the guys she's ever been with. Like, how fun. God. I remember the men that have been inside of me, and I have a husband, and that's okay. This sounds like a really insecure or possessive man. We've all lived. We've all had a good time. And if anything, everyone we've been with prior to has helped us become the person we are today. I think your answer next time he says that.
Yeah, exactly.
Caddy is like, what's your point? I was so easy. What's your point? Do you not want to be with me anymore? He's like, well, no, I'm just saying, like, I'm really fucking shocked, like, how easy you were. What's your point? What's your point? Are you trying to put me down right now? Or do you want me to get upset? Do you want me to defend myself? Like, you let me know what's your point? What do you want me to do? You want me to leave? You want me to call them? Do you want me to detail everyone for you? Do you want me to pretend you're the first person I've ever had sex with? Like, what do you want? What will make you feel better? You little fucking bitch boy.
All right,
Shame.
now, so
Real
obviously,
quick, by the way,
obviously
for
a hit dog
context.
hollers, right? So a hit
See,
dog hollers.
I was gonna
Yeah.
kind of empathize with her until the way she ended that. Now it's
No,
like,
well,
oh no.
listen.
No,
Here's
so
what I'm
how
saying.
many-
So either leave or don't. That's what I would say to the guy. So the guy in this
Right.
who asked the girl who asked the question is like, I know you mean like that guy. Don't stay and make passive aggressive comments. Leave or stay. That's your choices. But you already now. And to be fair, you know, women are not. At one point, I had a list on my phone of names. Some of them didn't have names. Some of them just had titles. And they were
Numbers,
rated
like
on. They were rated on a
prisoners.
They were rated on a 1 to 10 scale, and they were color coded by race. Like we like
that's impressive.
Now I don't have that anymore. I grew out of that, and I wouldn't.
2 weeks ago.
He's got it written on the back of the Trajan poster. I said,
I used to keep a variety of trophies. I got rid of most of them. And I don't, but also if somebody like said, hey bro, you're fucking ran through, get rid of that shit. I'd be like, yeah, you got a point. Like, I wouldn't defend it. I wouldn't defend that behavior. Like, I will admit that that's bad behavior. My issue is not that she did this. My issue is that, like, because obviously Alex Cooper, the host of the show, obviously she does something similar to this. And like, listen to that. Think about that statement.
You have
in
no
context.
idea.
Think about that statement in context. Like, I remember everyone who's been inside of me, and I have a husband, and that's okay. Imagine being her husband and hearing that shit, right? Like, imagine what that would be like to hear your wife just be like the fucking village bicycle. And by the way, she's not only the village bicycle, she's the village bicycle that leads all the other village bicycles. People look to her for advice. Young women look to this woman for advice. My problem is not that she did this. My problem is that she's advising other women to continue doing this, and when confronted on it, get catty. The objection she has is being held to any standard at all. By the way, if this were reversed, let me just put a cap on this. If this were reversed and it were a woman who stumbled on her boyfriend's list, and he done something similar, if he was like, what's your point? What's your point? Do you want me to call him? She would be like, that's a toxic man. He's trying to hold you to an unfair standard. That's evil. You should get rid of him. You deserve better.
Exactly.
All this stuff. But
dump him immediately. Is what all of her friends would say.
Exactly. She's literally incapable of putting the shoe on the other foot. She can't think outside of what's good for her. She can only think about, I want the world to work out 100% in my favor. I never want to have to deal with accountability, and I never want to feel negative emotions, even if that's the logical consequence of my choices. And anything outside of that, she can't make space for. She literally, this is what I'm saying, guys. It's not that they can and they're choosing not to. It's that they can't. If you're expecting them to empathize with you, to take accountability for their actions, to apologize, to modify their behavior, to understand where you're coming from, or to even tell the truth in a meaningful way, you're tilting at windmills. They can't do it. They're not fixable. Find a different one. Throw the whole thing out and find a new one. Just keep throwing them out until you find one that's capable of empathy. That's my pitch. Go off, everybody.
Well, real quick, I need to update your saying, because we got to stop saying the village bicycle. Okay, that's old school. It's not right. With dating apps and everything being online, it would be right to call them lime bikes.
Oh, like lime scooters, the village lime scooter.
Yeah, because the entire city is riding them.
Excellent.
No, not the whole city. So this is this is a big thing. So Theo, I know you probably are very familiar with Alex Cooper's history. How many of you guys are familiar with Alex Cooper outside of just the Call Her Daddy podcast?
Not at all.
Okay. So just for context, this isn't just, she's incapable of, empathy and, some self-reflection. That clip that you just saw,
those are the memories slipping out, because Alex Cooper has been run through by half the fucking NHL. Like, she is a before the podcast even fucking started, she was a notorious whore. And when you guys say the Village Bicycle, she actually admitted on a previous episode of Call Her Daddy, there was a special term for girls like her, and that was road beef. Because the athletes treat it like, I mean, because you see, okay, look at the stands. Okay, look at the stands. Look at the special viewer boxes during like a football game or a hockey game, something like that. You'll see there's a few extra women in there than there are players, right? And that's because the wives are up there with, I mean, I want to say an old school term and say the mistresses, but there's nothing refined about the wives are up there with the whores. And so oh my gosh. And the thing about, what is it? The road beef. So it's basically like this kind of like code. So you would have like what was it? Like teriyaki is like some kind of Asian. Like they use these terms with each other. And this is one of the reasons why I encourage women to not chase men that, like not chase men that like BBWs and stuff like that, because you're never going to be the woman in the big house. They're going to choose somebody a lot more aesthetically pleasing and then just fly you out to some dingy hotel and bang you on the weekend. But yeah, it's like, what is it? Extra fat, I guess, would be like BBWs, dark meat would be like black girls. It's just, they literally treat you like cattle. That's
she
what
knows about this, and she voluntarily participated.
Not only that, she fucking explained it back when Sophia was still on Call Her Daddy. She fucking explained this shit.
And she represents her lifestyle as aspirational, and she advises young women to do the same things. And what's crazy about it, because she got to get married to a guy that she likes and respects at the end of all this, which is why, we like to imagine that whores end up alone at the end of this. But the reality is 90% of the time, they just find some guy to marry them. They convert to evangelical Protestantism, and then they find some guy to marry them who's like had one girlfriend his whole life who broke his heart in the 5th grade. And then he's just happy to have a hot wife. He doesn't care that she's ran through. He's like, I accept you for who you are.
Unfortunately, that's unfortunately how a lot of porn stars end up getting married.
That's what happens. That's the real story. Whores win twice.
You can see it.
At the same time, I believe in redemption. If they actually are, legitimately like, self-aware.
They're not.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, so there's not like one fucking story where somebody's self-reflected, okay, this is not a healthy lifestyle. I'm not proud of the past I've lived in, and I want to find a better way of living. And they do that, and they find a person they're honest about what they did and where they're come from. This can be true for men and women. You don't believe that that's like that? Just no.
Mary Magdalene did it, but she stayed single for a while.
Yeah. And
other than that, no. Not today. Not fucking Alex Cooper. Did she sound reformed to you?
No, not her. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not saying her. For fuck's sake.
Their queen.
No, her. Like I said, I would have been a little more empathetic to the whole body count thing if her reaction wasn't, oh yeah, bitch boy. What about it? What do you want me to do? But like,
that's the go-to, by the way, for that fucking podcast. That's like the go-to.
Right. No, that is a problem.
That's your dick.
I'm saying
that's the most listened to podcast for women. That's their Joe Rogan.
Oh,
that's their thought leader.
Fun fact.
#thought leader.
Oh, that's a problem.
It used to be on Spotify. Call Her Daddy used to be on Spotify, but Spotify doesn't have it anymore because it never made the platform any fucking money. Thought leader.
Thought leader. That's a good one.
Thank you. We gotta get that on a shirt.
I think this whore epidemic is actually really on point with most other things. It's all about how can women eat their cake and have it too. It's and some of these women, you can tell that they've been eating the cake. But the whole thing is all about how can they get everything, be told that they're amazing, be given everything they want, and then also judge everyone else for not being given the same privilege that they have. With these women, they can fuck every single thing that moves, and then there's always a poor little cuck in the corner waiting to get married by one of these dumpsters.
Right. And I'm not saying that's not a problem. I'm saying that there is I do hope the best for people to like realize the error of their ways and try to find a better path.
No, and that's true. And that's unfortunately the reality is the culture just lies to people straight out.
Right.
And it's just we're all victims of brainwashing. This is a home math tweet that that I didn't save for the show, but I saw it last night when I was trying to go to sleep. Was like, we're all victims of brainwashing to different extent, because the second where we pop out of the womb, we're getting that fire hose of media programming and propaganda just like piped straight into our brains. And we say all the time 100%. That like women are particularly vulnerable to that. And I say all the time that women have less agency and therefore less accountability than men. And so if I'm going to be consistent with that, then we have to say it's not 100% their fault that if they're propagandized from the second they're out the womb to be whores, it's not 100% their fault that some of them end up whores. And the fact that they try to win and have their cake and eat it too is actually just them trying to do what's in their self-interest. Like, yes, it is like terrible for society and it is like viscerally disgusting to watch, but what Aaron's saying is true too. There are some women who realize how fucked up what their life strategy is, and they genuinely try to do a pivot and try to live better, and they'll do the work necessary to become better. But it is really hard to reform your lifestyle after you've made certain choices. It's genuinely hard. And because it's hard, most people won't do it. And that's not a men and women thing. Yeah. Most people don't do hard things unless they have to. You really got to bottom out hard to change your behavior.
And that's why I always want to be careful and not say you never want to give anyone, men, women, from, whorish, promiscuous behavior to drug addiction, alcoholism, all of those different things. You never want to not give somebody a path to redemption.
No, yeah, and nobody gets out of this culture okay, because we're all in this like fucked up culture. We all find a way to cope. The fact is, I'm convinced. I think this is true. I'm dying on this hill. The people in this culture who are not whores because they can't be. Like, if you get like a lot of people, like, because the culture programs you to be promiscuous. So if you can't be promiscuous, it's not because you don't want to be, or not because you wouldn't be if you didn't have the option. It's because you didn't have the option. You didn't have like hordes of people who wanted to fuck you. Like, think about this. Like, think about being a young woman and then you're coming up in the world. You have no internal sense of self. You have no accomplishments. You have no skills. And you have a bunch of people who want to fuck you, and you feel validation when that happens. And you don't have a good, situation at home. So all you've got going for you is that people want to fuck you. Why would you not ride that train? Like, seriously, if you could just like bang a bunch of hockey players, why would you not do that?
With today's culture for women, it doesn't take much to achieve that goal.
Right.
It takes very, very little. It takes an internet connection.
Seriously, you could like girls. You could DM Tyrese Halliburton. I keep picking on him, but you can DM Tyrese Halliburton on Instagram, and if you've got like butt cheeks in your profile picture, you might get a response. Then all of a sudden, an NBA player's flying you out to blow your back out in the fucking Marriott. And, why would you not do that? If you're fucking like 19, 20, 21 years old, you don't have the ability to have forethought. Life for you is dopamine rush to dopamine rush to dopamine rush. You're just riding the next dopamine hit.
And it doesn't even have to be whoever you just said. Who is that guy? Is he
he's an NBA player
or something?
Yeah, he's an NBA player. It could be a comedian.
For a woman, for a woman, all you need to get the validation you need, an internet connection. Butt cheeks are just a little bit of, dolling up, internet connection. And then eventually you're going to have at least a modest army of simps there with hard eyes and compliments and nonstop. And then maybe one person that's a little bit out of your league to be the one to get run through, but not ever be committed to you.
Right. This whore epidemic is actually a simp epidemic. That's actually what the real problem is. Because like women are like Like the fact that, like, guys, I have groupies. I have no money, and I have groupies every single show. Women that are hotter than you would think are clearly getting their sense of validation from whether or not this particular road comic will fuck them, and they're not doing it because they want to marry me. They're doing it because they want to hop in the group chat and be like, guys, I just fucked the comedian. Like, that's what they want to do. They want to be like, see, that's him on the poster. See, that's his clips on Instagram. I fucked that guy. I know what his dick tastes like, and I'm going to tell you about it. We're all going to vicariously fuck him together. Like, that's what they want to do because that's how they, like, bond with their friends and they get attention and they get validation and it makes them feel pretty, you know? It's weird. That's why I don't do that anymore, you know?
Then they tell their girlfriends about it and said, and on top of that, he didn't have toilet paper.
Yeah, that's, you know,
but the propaganda that gets brought up, and yeah, you want to know where the propaganda really kind of started was in the late 70s. And what happened in the late 70s? You had a show that taught kids that it's okay to be on the streets. Okay, that was the entire focus. Everything is good on the streets. You need to be on the streets. So it's just making whores of men and women, and that's why I'm fine with the defunding of Sesame Street.
Okay.
Oh, Sesame Street.
All right. Yeah.
Wait, what?
I'm confused as fuck, but okay.
Yeah.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
No, the
Iron's
propaganda
confused, so I know it's not a Zoomer thing.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's just the whole point of the Theo bringing up the propaganda from coming out the womb. And what do? I mean, since the 70s, parents have been throwing kids in front of the TV. That propaganda.
Yeah, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Sesame Street being one of them. It's more than just colors, numbers, and letters. There was a lot more underlying stuff that is in that programming.
It's
all of that, and it's all this kind of animation and kids programming that it's just progressively getting worse.
Well, and this is actually a better point than Emerald even realizes, I think, because now if you look at kids are totally addicted to the screens now. And fucking, you guys have seen all the fucking gay propaganda coming out of Miss Rachel and fucking Sesame Street 2 as like gay bullshit coming out of it. Like, it's all the kids shows now have like gay, episodes and drag queen episodes, and it's okay to be trans episodes and all that shit. And if you're a lot of these busy working parents, because one of the ways they keep you demoralized, they keep your kids hooked on the TV, is parents, especially middle and working class parents, are working round the clock and they're just like dead tired all the time. So they don't even know. They're just like, shut the fuck up and go watch the tablet. So they're watching the tablet. And the tablet's like, it's okay to be trans. And the kid's like, it's okay to be trans. They don't know. They're just consuming it uncritically. And they're not getting any feedback from their parents. They're not learning to read. We're not teaching kids cursive. So guess what? Now they can't even read the Constitution. Don't tell me that's not intentional, right? And we're just trying to overwrite all of Western civilization with gay race communism. And part of it is to demoralize the masses by making the women so fucking promiscuous and ran through and disgusting that we can't bring ourselves to marry them and continue the population. This is part of it. This is intentional.
That's ever since the government decided to manipulate a certain demographic of people into eliminating the ability to have only one full-time employed family member. Now you have to have two. Ooh, how did that come into play? How did that happen? Let's go back in time. How did that happen? Yeah. Thank you.
Not only that, for the past 3 decades, everybody has been pushed towards, everybody's been pushing their kids towards white collar work, which is one of the reasons why all of a sudden they're talking about, shortages in the trades. But, for the past 3 decades, they've been pushing, since the friggin' 90s, they've been telling people, go to school, get an engineering degree. But
how do they depict anybody in a white collar job? Stupid.
Yeah.
Lower class.
Yeah.
They're the basically the scum of society are the people working manual labor jobs, blue collar jobs, trade jobs.
The people in white collar jobs are hot people who get laid all the time.
Hot, successful, happy.
Yeah, and that's one of
if you work a white collar job, they always depict them as fat, stupid, lazy.
Yeah, but look at Suits, right? Suits,
really, the people that build your fucking world are the ones like overweight, boring, lazy, fat, and ignorant.
Watch Suits,
engineers, and
watch Suits. Suits. I've met lawyers. No lawyers are that hot. No lawyers have that much time to hang out. No lawyers are getting laid that much. They're all just like barely surviving, and their health goes to shit. They're overweight. I was hanging out with 2 lawyers that are the same age as me. Actually, I was hanging out with a bunch of lawyers the same age as me kind of recently, and they were complaining about how their like knees and back hurt, and they can't move, and they just had forgotten how to tell jokes. It was pathetic. Their bodies were like broken down. It looked fucking terrible. 2 of them were on Ozempic. And I was like, bro, just like fucking, what's going on? And it's like, whereas, you know, a lot of guys I know who are in the trades are actually pretty svelte because they have to move all the time. It's just part of their job.
Yep.
You know, and just reality. But it's like, if you look on TV, like that programming, I mean, fuck, man, that's how they got me into it. Now, I thought no one would, you know, want to fuck me if I became a comedian. And boy, was I wrong. That was a stupid idea. God damn. This is
real quick. I do have to duck out.
Okay, promote your products real quick.
Yeah, so Young Monarchs Last War of the Eight Kingdoms is an epic adult high fantasy novel about 8 royal heirs who band together to save their world from all-out war following an insane week-long bender on mushrooms. Super high-octane, packed to the covers with royal intrigue, lots of large-scale clashes between good and evil out on the open battlefield, explosive young romance, not the monster fucking kind, but yeah. But yeah, you guys can find that on my landing page under the books tab at bswarren.card.co. And then next year, probably October, November, I'm gonna have book 1 of the Fist of Terraheim series. It's gonna be a savage new saga, drenched in blood and glory, carved in the wake of a falling star. It's gonna be centered around the journey of a young barbarian hunter named Lucas, who will be called upon after happening upon a star metal sword to save his frozen and barren homeland from a demonic invasion led by a vengeful immortal. So give that a go. And you guys, you know, on you can, if you click that landing page link, you can find me on social media as well. You can get updates on everything. Yeah, and Theo, thank you very much for having me on. I always really appreciate it. Sorry, I usually stick around for like hours and hours and hours, but I'm like I mentioned previously, I'm abroad right now, and I've got people texting me and asking me, hey, when are you coming back? So, but yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. I really
take
do.
it easy, of course, man.
And thank you for being patient with me, even though I was late. So
that's okay, man. Take it easy. BS Warren, friend of the channel. Go ahead and check out his books and his products, everybody. That's good stuff. I actually want to pull this up in the chat. This is Full Metal Nate. So Beyblade enticed me to shoot my toy Beyblade at other kids' foreheads. I'm a victim of brainwashing. Smiley face. It's like, I know you're being flippant, but think about let's just use music as an example. Think about all the music that has words in it like back that ass up, shake that ass, bend over, shake that ass, let that coochie breathe. Notice how much ass shaking. When those songs come on, what do all the women start doing immediately?
Wop.
Right. WAP. Okay. So how many women are making life choices based on Megan Thee Stallion lyrics? I know I kind of said that jokingly, a while ago. I've said it on a few different shows, but really though, think about it. How many women are making choices genuinely based on Megan Thee Stallion lyrics? The answer is not 0. The answer is probably a large percentage. The truth is, like, media, I know Full Metal Nate is being flippant here, and I don't want to make too much of an example out of him, but the truth is, that's an example. What you're pointing to is an example of media programming working, right? With your Beyblade example. But there's also more sinister examples of media programming working. Like Sex and the City did so much harm to the millennial generation because you understand. Okay, so I saw a study recently. I don't know if this is true or not because I heard about it on a podcast. So who knows? But it said, if you watch 100 times more fiction than you do history, you will not be able to tell the difference. And you'll be fiction brained, where you literally can't tell the difference. And you can tell if you talk to a lot of women now, they fit into that category where they cannot tell the difference between fiction and reality because they've seen so many of these action movies where these tiny little girls beat up giant Russian guys. They actually think that women can handle men physically. And that a lot of women are out here never having sparred in their life, and they think they can beat a man in a fight, because they've just never contended with the physical world. You see these fat chicks at protests getting run over by cars. They've never contended with the physical world before. It's a complete shock, right? And so that's fiction brain. And I think Sex in the City did a lot of harm because it's like, hey, you can be wealthy and successful and get laid all the time and have a closet full of shoes and an apartment in New York. And your job is you type on your laptop about, I was a whore today. Here are my thoughts. And you do that once a week and you can make enough money to just live an opulent lifestyle. And that's what life is, right? That's completely made up, right? That doesn't exist. But
especially the lead actress is a horse face.
But this has been piped into their brains. This has been fire hosed into their brains from birth. And so now they have this sense of what reality is that's completely warped. And the way that they've been conditioned to behave is not, it's not coming from religion. It's not coming from their parents. It's coming from the television. And the television has told them to be degenerate. And it's true for men too. Like, how many men are learning how to be men, not from their fathers, but from rap music because their fathers weren't there.
Right.
Well, if I can, what we're kind of talking about, if I can pattern recognize just a little bit, not too much, but a lot of the problems that we're talking about all stem from Black culture. And we saw it play out with Black culture first, and then it was expanded to everybody else. We're talking about rap music, Megan Thee Stallion, a lot of this fatherless behavior, a lot of this degenerate behavior. A lot of it was ground zero was in the Black culture, and then they sold it as being so much fun and pure hedonism and without any value in delaying gratification. They took all the disappointing yet beneficial traits of Western culture, and they're like, well, let's look at the hedonism and in the moment life of Black culture, and they sold that as the promise without letting us see any of the downsides of it. If you notice, that's the same for movies, the way that they live in fiction, and everything around it is all tied to that.
It's also important that, like, those are not the only, like, Sexy Red is not the only rapper that exists, but she's one of the most famous ones. So the gatekeepers choose which aspects of hip hop get the signal boost. And what gets the signal boost is the stuff that talks about violence and rampant promiscuity. There's plenty of other artists who are talking about other things that could have gotten a similar signal boost, right? That they didn't make that choice. They chose to signal boost the most destructive stuff. Just like Sex and the City was not the only show that was a show that they chose to make, but that wasn't the only show that people wrote, right? Like, they could have, the culture could select for, in fact, it did for a long time. The culture select. If you watch like fucking episodes of fucking Leave It to Beaver, they would deliberately put moral lessons into the television, but it was like moral propaganda that was more in line with like a Judeo-Christian pro-family pro-social norms. And if you look at like old episodes of Dragnet, there was a bunch of like anti-drug propaganda in that to the point of being ridiculous. And now we like at that time, weed on marijuana on television was like a nightmare drug that was going to destroy your life forever, right? And now we've gone completely
super LSD.
Yeah, it was like this turbo drug that was going to just like ruin your life and cause you to like eat paint or whatever. And now it's just like super normal and everybody thinks it's fine. But I will say, like, it's just one example. The cultural attitudes towards most social behavior has shifted away from having standards. And that's true. I mean, it's most obvious. We see it most obviously around women and sex. Like, that's a really easy example to point to because it's so obvious and so viscerally disgusting. And they're just proclaiming it from the rooftops, and they get so aggressive with us when we point it out. But the truth is, all throughout our culture, standards have evaporated. And it's downstream. It's almost rude to hold someone to a standard, to suggest that someone could do better. And the truth is, the only way cultures actually move forward and innovate is if people are aiming up and if people are trying to do better. And sometimes it takes somebody saying, hey, you could do better to to notice. Actually, this is a really good segue to the next video. I want to do one more video while we're talking about brain rot washing. Let's go ahead and pull this up. We're picking on women a lot today. I don't know why. It's I thought I'd mix it up a little.
The show.
I thought I'd mix it up a little and just spend the whole show shitting on women. Go ahead and roll that beautiful beat.
I don't want to hear another white person say the word illegal for the rest of my goddamn life. We are living on stolen land. Our ancestors forcibly and violently seized this land from the indigenous peoples who were living here for generations before we ever showed up. We do not get to call them illegal. We don't own the fucking planet. Nobody does. We are evolved monkeys with opposable thumbs who use them to write little monkey scribbles on a slice of tree, and we call it a birth certificate with our little monkey sounds. All of it is made up. None of it is real, and it doesn't fucking matter. And it's certainly not a valid reason to rip a terrified, screaming child away from his weeping mother. And I am tired of being made to feel like I'm crazy for being angry about this. Capitalism is just narcissism as an economic system. Imperialism is just narcissism as a foreign policy. If the lion can't claim the safari for himself and call the elephant illegal, then neither the fuck can we.
Oh, shit.
Man, she is harder to listen to than B.S. Warren.
So,
the thing about it is
the funny thing.
Go ahead.
Has she ever seen how chimpanzees treat other chimpanzees, or
for real?
So, like, okay, one, a lot of these people don't understand the animal kingdom or whatever. Like, there's lemurs that have fucking gangs, and like, if they see the wrong lemur walk up on in their territory, they tear that motherfucker to shreds.
Yeah.
So
watch Meerkat Manor.
Yeah.
Also, logical fallacy appeal to nature. How many animals rape their children and or their dead? Should we start doing that? Because we're also just monkeys who go
who make sounds and write scribbles.
But here's the thing: Mexico stole the land from the natives. We kicked their ass in a fucking war, and then we didn't have to, but we paid them for the rest of the shit, and everyone was fine with that. Californian stuff was a bunch of white folks. Spanish is not a native language. It's from Spain. So until you can, if you can go, you can't complain about that shit in Mexico. Don't complain about that shit here.
Overall, it's just amazing that you can sit here and have these point of views, saying all those things, and it's realized, okay, so your point of view means nothing based on what you just said, because we're just animals that are just using monkey sounds. So why are we listening to you? Why do you think you all of a sudden have the opinion that's right? I mean, come on, have a little.
Well, here's the other problem. That's always directed to the United States. They never go to Canada with that nonsense. They don't go to Mexico with that nonsense. They go to any South American country with that nonsense. All those places are technically a colonized and or whatever buzz terms you like to use, which overall they're all bought, stolen, or whatever in any sort of way. So until you can go to other countries and say that shit, do not say that shit here. Like, it's either all bad or none of it's bad.
Yeah, they're not complaining about what's going on in Europe right now with the mass migration problem and the culture being completely shifted to a new, Eastern persuasion.
Like we can talk about how Japan took over Okinawa or whatever, right? Like where's their, like, you don't go down there and fight for their rights or whatever, or saying you're completely content. It's only the United States. There's so much other that's gone wrong in this world, but it's dead silence. And like, we can go to any country and find some sort of wrongdoing or whatever. But,
going on right now.
Yeah, even going on right now. But same thing. We can the same arguments you make against the United States, you can say the same thing in Canada or the same thing in Mexico. But it's dead silence.
I also loved her little comment about how capitalism is narcissistic economics, as though socialism isn't give me, gimme, gimme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can just tell it's liberal college brain rot. she's just spewing the standard indoctrination that these liberal white women are getting in college.
Yeah, she used all the TikTok words too.
Yeah.
It was narcissism, capitalism, stolen land, all the that's the TikTok algorithm. Like it's like I say this all the time, but I talk to hundreds of women every single year about more or less the same things. And I can always tell when somebody's TikTok brained because this is what they say.
Like even in China, you can't even say Taiwan is its own country.
Right.
Nope. That's immediate. Go to a re-education camp.
Yeah, go over there with that nonsense.
Tibet.
Yep.
Crazy. And you got to interface with these people on a daily basis. That's what's so crazy. Is and they're out and in the open with it. Like I was at a pool party this past weekend. I don't have time to get into it, but like one of the things I noticed was how openly and flagrantly comfortable people were making comments that virtue signaled left-wing politics. There was a woman there who she found a way to work it into conversation 5 or 6 different times that she was at the protests. Oh, my feet are so tired. I was at the protests, you see. And she wanted everybody to know that she was at the protests. And she found out I was from Washington. She was like, oh, my primary boyfriend lives in Washington. I'm like, oh, okay. By the way, one thing since I've been out in Vegas, can you people keep your fucking open relationships away from me? Just please stop telling me all the details about who you're fucking and why and who you're allowed to fuck and that you're open.
Was that a Vegas? Is that exclusively a Vegas problem, or did you have the same problem in Washington, Theo?
No, I had the same problem in Washington. Everywhere I go, actually,
maybe it's just social circles.
Yeah, well, everywhere I go, people are just like, by the way, you can fuck me if you want to, and I'm like, I don't. Stop.
You look like the third partner.
I don't want to.
You look like a third.
That's fair, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because that wasn't the point I was trying to make. But the point is, like, people were talking pretty openly about how Donald Trump sucks and blah blah blah, all that stuff, and stolen indigenous land and all this stuff. And it's like I would never, especially if I was with people I didn't know very well, I would never initiate a conversation about politics. And if one came up, I would do everything I could to sidestep my way out of it. Even if I felt like I agreed with them, I would just be like, no, thanks. I just rather not. I'm having a nice time. I don't want to get into that.
The norm for them is they're only surrounded by people with the same opinion as them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're comfortable with saying it. Like, even now, the spaces that they curate is I don't want to debate anyone with an opposing opinion, so I'm only around an echo chamber at all times. Yeah. So that's why they get,
and it's a purity test,
right? Yeah. Well, that's why they don't even go to debates, right? So, did you guys see Jubilee? The people in Jubilee the other day were like, "Hey, how come you know how you do like the one person versus seat versus like 100 people on a debate or whatever?" How come there's no people on the left that do that? And they're like, well, we want people on the left, but they don't want to be challenged with their opinion. And they've been trying to, and it's only people on the right. There's like, hey, I'm willing to talk to people on the other side. And that's what they don't do.
Yeah. And to be fair, that's why I was like so jazzed up about fucking TikTok girl from the beginning to bring it full circle, is because she was forcibly thrust out of her echo chamber. She's that is a fucking bisexual feminist spicy content creator, and her audience is now 200,000 guys who probably consume manosphere content. And so she's now been forcibly thrust out of her echo chamber, and she's, to her credit, she's trying to engage with it. That is so rare. Like nobody, and it's just more of a problem on the left. You still see it with people on the right, but it's certainly more pronounced on the left. Nobody wants to, be around people who have different ideas than them. They're terrified of the challenge. And that's a big problem. So now people don't even know how to talk to each other. Like, okay, this woman from the video who's like, indigenous land or whatever, right? Imagine trying to have like a reasonable conversation with her that starts with the sentence, I voted for Donald Trump. Imagine imagine how she would respond. Do you think she would just she would go apoplectic and completely shut down? There's no way she would dialogue, because to her, what you just said is that I am a Nazi white supremacist who wants to put you in a Handmaid's Tale outfit. And that's going to make her both horny and scared at the same time. And that's going to be hard for her to deal with, you know? And that's
it's a neat party trick when they're all being in their echo chamber and saying all those things of how bad it is. Just to rant. It's a great magic trick to just randomly say, Trump's not that bad.
That would just see what happens. I actually think so. I actually advocate it's a better strategy to say that than it is to pretend to agree with people's politics. If you want them,
that's how we got where we were. We quit allowing for conversations to happen because we let one side decide to set the narrative that if you have a differing opinion in any way, you are a bad person. So you must hide all opinions you have that don't align with ours perfectly.
Well, it's a difference between the right and the left. So the right is concerned with politeness in a way that the left isn't. The left doesn't, because they don't believe in norms and they don't believe in standards. They don't believe in, they have this vague concept of be kind, which means everybody gets the same number of fruit snacks at the sleepover, but they don't have any concept of politeness or honor or decency or social norms or anything like that. Those are all right-wing concepts. So on the right, it's rude to bring up politics and religion around people. It's rude because it can start arguments and it's not good for social cohesion. The left doesn't give a fuck about that. So because of that, the right didn't discuss politics publicly and didn't present a disagreeable front because it was rude, and because the left just moved in and just took over the culture and the public sphere. And we're still trying to dig our way out of that. You know, thank God for the alternative media space where the right can kind of make a resurgence. And by the way, it's not even the right, it's like just normal people who are trying to take it over, because the
anybody center of extreme left.
Yeah, the mainstream, anybody, two steps to the right of Karl Marx is considered to be a Nazi who needs to go to re-education camp and, hasn't taken their daily dose of estrogen. They're actually like the far left, because the most aggressive, the hardest charging leftists are the ones who have seized the most power. And it's all because of the right's misplaced desire to be polite and to favor social cohesion and go along to get along. And then as the right social influence has diminished, the easiest thing for social cohesion and going along to get along was to adopt further and further left-wing beliefs. And you hear everyone around them repeating them, you just start repeating them too, just to go along to get along. So go ahead.
It all goes back to when I said that the left focuses on feel-good morality, whereas the right focuses on pragmatic morality. The left is going to do whatever makes you feel the best, or the left is going to do what makes you feel the best in that exact moment, and therefore what feels the best is also looking the best, which means that they have to make sure that you know where they stand on every issue at every minute of every day. They're going to go out there and they're going to find a way to push their politics into social discussion. It's exactly the same reason why game developers and movie studios can't help themselves but do it too. You always know the politics of every single person talking because they have to look as good as possible. So they're one of the good ones for now until it finally comes time for them
until the programming changes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the right wing, we focus on pragmatic morality. So discussing politics is bad because it causes a breakdown of cohesion. We know that because we've seen it both in polite company and with leftists who don't understand that. The left doesn't understand this kind of stuff because it's all about it's going to cause breakdown discussion, but how can they know I'm a good person if I don't virtue signal right now?
Wow. Ugh. Yeah. Real mess. All right, folks. Well, it's been a party. We're doing good. Hold on, let's check in with the chat. Watcher X has been. Yes, boomers are the worst generation ever. Boomers did ruin society. I think we all agree on that. Good job, Watcher X.
Oh, shut it, millennial.
Good. Yeah.
Well, no, millennial just took what the boomers did and kind of made it worse in a lot of ways. But they really started with the boomer generation, the 60s, and feminism and free love and stuff is what really kind of sent the society on a downward trajectory.
Yeah. Boomers have their orientation towards the real world is so selfish. It's not evolved past childhood. Gimme. And so they're completely incapable of grappling with reality, and they're in charge.
Right. And on top of that,
why can't you do what we did when we had it so much easier?
Well, and on top of that, if you notice, like it was really kind of being reported during the No Kings protest, the fact that it didn't seem like there was a lot of Gen Z out there, didn't seem like there was a lot of Gen Y. It seemed like there was a lot of boomers, a lot of old people at a lot of these protests.
Yeah.
So it's like, you kind of see a shift going on.
Yeah, and I think that's because who's still getting who's still downloading their programming from cable news?
Boomers.
Yeah. I think that's who's getting it. There's a big kerfuffle at my mom's church right now, which is a Catholic church, by the way. There's a bunch of women who are super concerned about making sure they're scared that women are going to lose their reproductive rights. And they're scared that they won't be able to trans the kids and all this stuff. And I was like, aren't you bitches Catholic? Have you fucking what the fuck are you doing? That's the whole point. Why are you Catholic if you want to fucking murder babies and trans the kids? That's the whole point of being Catholic, is that we don't do that here. You know, like that's the whole point. And it's like because they're not getting their programming from religion. There's a much more powerful force, which is, CNN, which is telling them what to think. Mm-hmm. And also, because they came up in the boomer generation, they married limp-wristed husbands who were taught to sit down and shut up and let women lead. And so because of that, these women are just like balls of anxiety with their heads cut off. They have no rational faculties, and they have no one putting boundaries on their behavior and saying no to them. So they just kind of run around saying nonsense that they heard on CNN, and they've been brainwashed to kind of like move as a herd and vote out of fear and just be a problem to everyone who has to interact with them. And that's what the No Kings protest is. It's like it's a bunch of people who don't have a foot on the ground. They don't have a real relationship with reality. They live in this fictionalized universe that's been curated for them by CNN. And that's what they think reality is. They don't understand the sacrifices that are necessary to maintain a society that's free and safe. And they don't understand that, like, they take for granted how good things are, and they don't understand that that can go away. And things could be bad again. And things could be so bad you can't even imagine it. That could happen. That's totally plausible. That's well within the realm of possibility. Things could get really bad again if we don't do what's necessary to maintain what we have. And unfortunately, abolishing social standards is not abolishing the standards that gave us the society and the prosperity that we have is not a good way to maintain it. Unfortunately, it sucks, but you have to keep doing the work.
You did say the one word that's causing all these problems: sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real issue. These people, they don't want to sacrifice because it doesn't make them feel good in the moment. It's all about hedonism.
Right. It's hard. Yeah, sacrifice sucks.
And that's why you see it too when it comes to donations and charities that actually help other people. When it comes to church groups, it always is the right that is the one that's actually putting up the money to help society, to actually help grow that, where it's the left that their charity is them standing on a soapbox.
Yeah, well, I saw an interesting tweet thread. I wish I'd pulled it up for the show. It's an interesting tweet thread. There was like therapy as a profession is like 80% female and like 90% leftist or something like that. And they were like, why is this? And all the comments were like, because people on the right don't feel empathy. And of course they look and the response, to the credit of the person who posted the question, they responded, well, actually people on the right donate to charity more. And it's like, just because they're being kind doesn't mean that they feel empathy, which is such a good illustration of left-wing morality. It's not about what you do, because right-wing morality is about what you do. It's about actions, right? Yep. And left-wing morality is about how you feel internally. It's like you listen to like even the lady, the brainwashed lady that was talking about, we're on stolen land and they're ripping children away. How do you not feel feelings? Why don't you feel feelings? I'm not crazy because I feel feelings. Like, actually, that's exactly why you're crazy. Is because you feel feelings. And look what you're doing. Look what your actions are. You're just screaming into the phone. You're not doing anything. Whereas with the right wing is about, doing stuff. I have this discussion with women all the time. They get confused where they assure me that this man who mistreats them really loves them. Like, his internal emotional experience is that he loves them even though he's mistreating them. And I'm like, no, men show you how they feel about you with their actions. When I think about relationships, I think about them in terms of duty, in terms of treatment, in terms of actions, in terms of behavior. And most people, I would say, run around trying to form relationships now, think about it in terms of the emotional experience and the vibes. And if there's emotions, then that's a sign that you should continue, not the actual actions. And I realize my orientation towards morality is all about actions. And the left's orientation for morality is all about feelings. And it's like, how do you not feel feelings when you're seeing them? I'm like, I don't fucking, well, because I know that the Democrats brought in all these illegal immigrants to artificially inflate their electoral power because they wanted to, it's all a power game for them to illegitimately subvert the Republican Party so that they could gain power. It's all like a power play. It's not like they didn't.
These aren't people to them.
Like they're lying about their motivation. They're trying to make it seem. But how do you know? I was like, well, we have to get them out because they were brought in illegitimately for a power play. It's not about like they're just lying about their motivations and their intentions. It's all a lie. It's all one power game. This is professional wrestling. These people, this is pageantry. These people are sociopaths. They don't actually care about the things they say they care about. And so but the response from the left is always, but how do you not feel feelings? And it's like,
but it's really funny when they go about screaming about empathy because they you don't have any empathy, but well, no, my empathy is just in a different place. You're empathetic towards the people who cried really hard and the corporation support being the illegals. My empathy is for the people who are victimized by the illegals and the people who are denied legitimate access to this country because, all the slots were taken up by people who can commit crimes without getting caught. I get into a lot of arguments with trans activists, and they're like, why don't you feel empathy for the people who are out there suffering, who need this dysphoria and need the surgeries? I'm like, well, it is.
And he's gone.
I
can hear you.
Why did you do that?
We just doubled our viewership when ours had disappeared. That's hilarious.
OBS didn't have empathy for him.
I do have empathy. My empathy is that you can't cut your dick off because you feel sad at the age of 14. That's my empathy for them. Yeah. Because empathy is knowing that if I let you do this now, which will affirm you feeling good right now, 10 years from now, you're going to kill yourself because you made your life horrible in the long run to affirm a temporary issue.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like the other thing that we're not going to say on here. You're finding a short-term solution to a long-term problem that's irreversible and unchangeable.
Right. I'm just waiting for the first lawsuits to start coming of children that were trans by their children that were trans by their parents, ruining their future. I am just waiting for those lawsuits to start.
It's going to get real ugly in the next.
Yes, it is. And it's going to go after doctors. It's going to be after teachers. It's going to be politicians,
teachers, politicians.
Yep.
You're 100% right. it's going to get bad. And so that's only the ones that are well adjusted enough to take that kind of action. The kind of action some of the others are going to take is going to be a lot more tragic, and it's unavoidable at this point. They've opened a Pandora's box that they can't get away from.
And I think Europe is kind of realizing this a little bit more, and that's why they're actually banning this stuff. Where here in the US, the left is, you don't have any empathy, we should still allow this to occur. Luckily, the Supreme Court just upheld the Tennessee law that said, no, none of this reaffirming care, none of this transition surgery for anyone under 18.
But if Kimberly doesn't have a trans kid, what will she talk about at the tennis club?
Right, because unfortunately for liberal leftist women, and just leftists in general, it's like it's a pocket poodle. It's a handbag dog to them.
Yeah, when they turn 18, they get to dump them on the side of the road because it's no longer their responsibility, or send them to live with their father, who they kicked out.
That's one scenario. The other scenario is a confused kid that's getting programmed by Reddit to self-diagnose their problems and find out that there's a problem that doesn't actually exist. They're just going through shit that they need actual help with. And the doctor, they're pushing a solution, pushing something on them that is not the case. It's already been, Chloe Cole's an example. There are a ton of them, the detransitioners, and there's no, they're living the most normal lives they can at this point. But some of them,
it's a little too late for most of them. Yeah. But this empathy thing goes right back. You know how they would always have to virtue signal by saying that I have empathy and you don't. It's look at how great of a person I am. I'm so humble too, because I'm so empathetic. And I know that I'm better than you because I've got the empathy. It's just another way to virtue signal how awesome of a person they think they are while denigrating you. The empathy argument is an ad hominem to ensure that you can't come back because, well, you're just a mean, awful person who probably wants to throw people in camps. I mean, I said yesterday, when I argue with these liberal dipshits, the first thing they say is that all of you are waiting to throw me in a concentration camp.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I don't even know how they found out about that.
But it's going to be fabulous.
It's just I don't care so long as you keep the chimneys hidden and the swimming pools open. And make sure to keep my shoes, please.
But like bringing a bunch of people in that are going to be trapped into basically slave labor wage jobs and relying on government handouts for the entire existence that they're here. That's totally that's compassion. Clean my toilets. I'll give you some shekels.
It's a better life than they had in Mexico or
they're just
America.
It's crazy how they're just like the compassionate party is just unironically advocating for a slave class,
modern day slavery. Yeah,
and they're not even hiding it. They're not. It's like very much like quiet part out loud. We want a slave class, and it's like, but who's gonna do all of the thankless unpaid work that we don't want to do? Duh. Well, it's like, that's slaves, though. It's slaves. You're describing slaves.
Even better than that.
It's the argument that they keep making too, that that Americans don't want to do these jobs. Those legal citizens don't want to do these jobs. So they had a food processing plant in one of the Midwest states that they did a massive raid on and arrested a lot of illegals. The company at first was going, we don't know how we're going to survive this. Their waiting rooms were constantly full with legal American residents that wanted those jobs.
But the difference, they didn't want to pay them what they would have legally had to pay them. That's why I'm fully on board with full investigations of any company hiring any illegals, because you are besides breaking the law of hiring an illegal, it's tax evasion, because you're not reporting any taxes at all on those employees. On top of that, I thought they loved taxes.
Oh yeah. And on top of that, how many of these supposed workers that you had, how many of these illegals were using false, fake, and forged documents that you accepted and never looked into? So I'm fine with the prosecuting of companies that hire illegals.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
You picked the wrong time to get out of being a lawyer there, Theo.
No, I didn't. Like I said, I went to a pool party this past weekend, and I met some players. It was like the saddest part was watching. First of all, they were at a pool party on the weekend, and they kept checking each other because it was like, don't say that. That's an HR violation. Oh wait, it's the weekend. It was one of this, and I was watching them actually try to joke with each other. Once I watched them consciously realize, wait a minute, there's no HR here. We can say whatever we want. And then they tried to joke, but it was,
oh boy,
it was like they'd forgotten how. So it was like watching them like stumble through it, and they'd already like physically and socially deteriorated to the point they just defaulted back to talking about work. It was sad. It was really sad, man. And I'm just glad I dodged it. Millennials' wages haven't increased in 40 years. Also, millennials don't enforce immigration laws. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's not rational, but also advocating for your rational self-interest is white supremacy. That's the other thing you have to remember. So we're also wokeness is an anti-human self-deleting death cult. And you have to remember that. So that wants to destroy Western civilization because of guilt. So millennials, especially in big cities, and this is true for these lawyers that I met, they're so miserable. They hate their lives. Every single second is spent in a cloud of nihilistic depression. And there's a part of them that really, really wants to die. And it's hopeless because they can't have kids because they can't afford it. They can't buy homes because they can't afford it. So they have no stake in society. They don't own businesses. They don't own homes, and they can't have kids. They have no stake in the future. So the only thing they have to fall back on for meaning is hedonism. And hedonism burns out quickly. And so if you have no hope for the future, you have no meaning in your life, and you've run out of hedonism, then the only thing you have left is self-deletion. And so this is kind of this desire for limitless in immigration and conquering is an unconscious desire for like indirect self-deleting of the society because of their internal misery. And it sucks to say. But like almost everybody, like high functioning depressives, it's like, yeah, almost everyone who exists in this corporate this cog in the machine culture that we've created is in a state of like high functioning depression. And it sucks. I mean, in some ways I'm very, 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 very blessed to have an outlet, and I don't take that lightly. I mean, my life is very difficult in a lot of ways, but because of choices I've made. But for me, yeah, it's I'm very blessed to have a path forward. And Drunken, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to show me?
No. I think Iron wants to end the show with a little bit of gooning.
Oh yeah, this is
great.
This is just for you, Theo.
Great.
And Vagabond.
Cool.
To anyone who says we don't have culture, come on.
So cold and yet so hot.
Hey, I already know Theo's thought process. Do you know her at?
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it's at Poland.com.
Yeah.
Scandinavia's or
yeah, we gotta
get your passport.
Yeah. Hashtag get your passport. Jesus. Yeah. I don't know. I was optimistic when I moved to Vegas, and then I went to this fucking pool party and it was just fucking miserable. I did not enjoy it. I don't know. I'm hoping eventually, you guys keep telling me to meet more people and I'll eventually meet someone good. I just don't know if that's true because I keep meeting more people and each one is more disappointing than the last. So I don't know, man. I'm going to keep it up. I'm going to keep doing it. I have an obligation to the audience to not lose hope, but I don't have any rational reason for hope.
Now, okay, you can't blame people for telling you to go out and meet new people. That was your own fault. You went out and did a pool party with lawyers. I mean, the only pool party that's good is like 5 of them at the bottom of the lake in a car.
Yeah, it's really it was hard to watch. Honestly, it was hard to watch them try to have fun. There's one girl there that I was like, you seem very intense, and she's like, no, I'm very fun as long as I schedule it. And I was like, she said that with not an ounce of self-awareness and not an ounce of intentional irony either. Like, she meant it. That as long as she had fun that was written into her calendar. I was like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh God. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I think it'll be easier. I think it'll be easier to teach a bottle girl to act moral than it would be to teach a lawyer to be fun.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know. It depends on the type of lawyer, probably.
That's true. There's some like some lawyers are fundamentally unserious, like the ones that represent like weed dispensaries are fundamentally unserious.
And you want to know what? I have heard that the mesothelioma lawyers are a hoot at a party.
They're not. They're not. No, it's just not. Oh, God damn it. All right, guys, we're coming to we're 2.5 hours in. Let's go ahead and wrap the show up. I guess it's been enough. This has been enough touching grass for one day. Arza, you're here. Where can people find you if they haven't already had enough?
Well, if you haven't found me annoying, or if you find me in any way, shape, or form enjoyable to listen to, watch, or find me remotely attractive, feel free to follow me on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, and X under the username RZChats. I generally put out one video that's about 10 to 20 minutes in length, covering a news story and giving my personal opinions. It's about 50-50 story, my opinions. And then if 20 minutes is too long to listen to me to, because it's too long for other things, I also do a 1-minute short summarizing whatever video I put out. So if you're interested in that at all, feel free to follow me. As for shows, I never know what shows I'm going to be on until I've been sent the invite link. So follow me on X so I can announce what shows I'll be on.
All right. Vagabond, you are here, and not because you're a diversity hire. You're here based on merit. I want you to know that.
All right, no worries. So I'm the Runaway Vagabond, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Tom. And you can catch me later tonight on Anime for the Homies next Friday.
Iron got excited.
I have to postpone it one more week. I have to make some money tomorrow. So, and then tomorrow, so tomorrow I won't be doing anything. Next Friday I'll be on Iron Oxide's podcast, The Weekly Rogues Gallery. Follow him, get him to 1,000 subscribers, because him and Selena will have a mini me, a mini Iron and a mini Selena. We're hoping for twins. And then, and then catch me here on Saturdays with Theo Snodgrass on Touchgrass.
All right. Iron Oxide. I hear you have twins forthcoming. Is that true? What else do you get up to?
Apparently. I just have to let the wife know that's an obligation to our channel success is that's a requirement. I got the Weekly Rogues Gallery every Friday at 5:35 p.m. PST. Still working out the details to get Ironcast off the ground. That'll likely be on Wednesday. It's going to be hosted by myself and co-hosted by yourself, Theo. So looking forward to that. That's going to be a good show. You can also catch me occasionally over on Sammy 3Pete's channel for both Cavecast and in other news. Occasionally I join Junker and Emerald Arrow as well. And I pop up here and there when I'm asked. So follow me over on X and you can find out where to find me. Go sub to the Rumble on YouTube, Iron Oxide for the shows. And that's about it. Thanks for hanging out. Of course, Touchgrass every Wednesday. I enjoy the show as well. So thanks for having me on again.
Yeah. Drunken Emerald Arrow, 99 overall producer. Couldn't run the show without you. What kind of stuff do you get up to?
Well, I'm done for the weekend, which is great. So now I can go and do other projects that I need to do around the house. But other than that, on Tuesday at 6 p.m. over on my channel is Nerds Covering the News. Wednesday over on Devil Made Me Do It's channel is Make Me a Sandwich, and that is at 7:30 PST. Then on Fridays, the weekly Rogues Gallery over on Iron's channel. Then Sean and Gina's in other not in other news, their news show, which is in between mine and Iron show over on Rumble and on Third Ralify's channel. Then at 9:30 PST over on my channel on Fridays is insert title here, which is the last Friday of the month coming up, which is Free for All Friday. And then Saturday mornings over on Sammy 3Pete's channel at 8:30 in the AM PST is a Cave Cast, and then right back here for Touch Grass.
All right. I am your host, Theo Snodgrass, comedian and podcaster out of Las Vegas, Nevada. If you want to come see me do live comedy, I'm going to be at the C3 Lounge on July 10th. Got a bunch of other stuff coming up in a bunch of other cities. If you want to find out when I'm going to be in a city near you, or you want to see what kind of shows I'm on, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Rumble, follow me everywhere, and send me a DM if you're nasty. All right, hard out. Take it easy, folks.